let me just blast off. But as far as personal news goes, yeah, the party was great. It was fun. I left relatively early, but even though I left relatively early, well, Cutie left before me, which is crazy because we walk outside, like another group of old heads walk outside, okay? And I'm over here, I'm like, all right, it's time for me to go to bed. You know, I'm done. And what is she doing outside? She left like 15 minutes before me. Sick. Sickening. If the fit goes hard and that's why Chad is trying to knock you down a peg, lol, thank you. Where'd you buy the bandana, fam? I bought it on Amazon. What is this? Accusing you of having a hickey from this chat is not making fun of you. Is jealousy, streamer fucks? What do you mean? For the record, the next scarf can be very chic, but I fear the knot is a tad too tight. Next time, aim for something a little more soft so the ends aren't sticking out like that. Okay. Yeah, all I want you guys is to say, do it, lady. When I pull this off. Okay? When I pull off a fucking fit, I want you to just go, do it, lady. Yeah, let me blast off. New Hasanabi compilation. What is this? Oh, dude, you guys have been putting my freaking accents on the timeline, and it's been kind of embarrassing. I'm not gonna lie. I've been seeing the accent compilations, and it's like crazy. Anyway, hold on. Where was I? Let's blast off. I'm after moderate alcohol consumption. Be they. Do we have a blast off meme? I like when you go full Jersey. You got it. Oh, thank you for the playlist. The Macy's rocking the Fred from Scooby Doo look. Yes. I'm dying after moderate alcohol consumption at 30th of his birthday. Disastrous labor numbers come out as Trump is firing the BLS chief. Tariff terror. Witkoff does Theresienstadt propaganda for Gaza Holocaust front and gaming later. Get in now. Twitch.tv/Hasanabi. Dude, I was listening to the Daily this morning, and let me tell you, they pissed me off once again. It's pretty crazy. It's like, I feel like at this point, if I listen to NPR, no disrespect because they just interviewed me, but like, whenever I listen to like Up First or whenever I listen to the Daily, it makes me so mad. The moment that they start talking about Israel, it's just like, I cannot hold myself back. It's just like, I find myself a blood curdling rage. Okay. Do we have a blast off meme, chatters? Do we have a blast off meme? Because I need, what is this? Das Kapital?
Let's do Bandle to start us out, just so I have some momentum. Otherwise, I could just sit here and yap for like 40 minutes. Just saw the clip of you explaining the labor theory of value without knowing about it. You need to read Das Kapital. Honestly, brother, it sounds like I don't need to read Das Kapital. It sounds like I simply derived it from base principles and
That's fucking awesome.
Bayesian priors. If anything, they should get me to write the foreword for the next edition. Marx, hit me up, bro.
Okay, we don't have a blast off meme, it seems.
Is Karl Marx on Instagram?
The next edition. No blast off memes, make him work for it. Okay, I mean, I just won't do it then. I'll just make him work for it. What the fuck does that mean? Low budget one? You should do WikiFeet Reacts today? No. Okay, I like this. I like this one. That's good. Trump moved nuclear subs near Russia. No, I know. We got so much. I know. I got that on there too. I got so much in here. If not mistake, I think CBP announced today they're closing, which I think funds NPR and PBS, the Piker Broadcasting Service. The Piker Broadcasting Service is still live and alive. Do not worry. Okay? Every day. Scott Jennings deserves the chair. Oh, dude, don't even get me started on Scott Jennings and what he deserves. Okay? Scott Jennings. Oh, my Lord. Yeah, once PBS is completely crippled, then Piker Broadcasting Service is like the one and only, the only real PBS out there. You know what I mean? That's how this works. Chat, no sidetracking. I will cut you. I don't know why you said that. That's a little aggressive. Anyway, this is Friday, everybody, and as is the case with all Fridays, we have immaculate vibes. Okay, immaculate vibes. I woke up this morning after a long night of parasocial misconduct. Okay, giving some great advice to young nephew Jason the Ween, and hanging out with Cutie, Vanilla Mace, Tina Kitten, 100 Thieves, Valkyrie, Adapt, and many others. I drank a little bit, hung up with Tara as well, obviously. I left early, I will admit, because I'm an old man, and Thursdays are my worst days because I ship. What am I saying? Thursdays are my worst days because like I have workouts in the morning and then all this stuff, and then the podcast. It's just crazy, right? Was that fight real with FaZe? No, none of that is ever real. What are you talking about? All that stuff is content, chat. Yeah, they actually hate one another. Why not shift a work day? It just doesn't work. It works out the way that it does. The only time we have for the podcast that everyone has, it's just Thursday night is the best time for everyone in the pod. It is what it is. So I have to go along with it. But yeah, so how you been doing half days though? Have those been more relaxing? No, not really. I mean, I haven't really been doing half days. My half days are still 7. Oh my God. I'm getting called out in the group chat by Cutie. The Labubu lady did a blackface? What? The Labubu lady did a fucking blackface, bro? What? The 24 karat gold Labubu woman. Oh my God, this tweet has hit the group chat like Muhammad Atta, okay? On the Tuesday morning of 9/11, 2001. Cutie blasted this in the chat, went, "This your girl, Hassan?" She said, "I have the world's very own minstrel Labubu." She went from 24 karat gold Labubu to literally doing straight up old school British colonial roots. Here is the TikTok she deleted. Wait, hold on. Let's see. For context, she uploaded this. Wait. KSI? She didn't just like upload a regular well, I mean, I don't even know. Is it worse if it's like a singular famous black person that you are doing blackface for? Or is it still bad but less bad? Yeah, that's the term for it, right? This is straight up, what is it called? I don't even want to say it because it's one of those words that's like so old school racist where it's like I feel like there's you got marbles in your mouth when you're saying that word, you know? Like this is some Jim Crow shit. Yeah, it's bro. Oh, brother, what the hell? This is crazy. For context, she uploaded this KSI and deleted it 10 minutes later after backlash and is repeatedly saying she's not racist and blackface was not her intention. And I truly believe there were so many paint options just before picking up the black Sharpie.
Of the world's first KSI Labubu.
That's crazy, bro. White people are an unstoppable force. I swear to God. I know for a fact that when she did this, as a British lady, she wasn't even thinking like, this is going to be horrible. Okay? She really, in the year 2025, picked up the fucking black Sharpie and Sharpied a Labubu in the face. And not even for a moment did she think this is not a good idea. Okay? It is crazy, bro. What is going on? White people, meet one singular black person, please. White people, be around a black person for once in your life challenge. Like just a little bit of melanin. I swear to God. This would have been a fire topic on the pod. I know. I can't believe she just did this to us after the pod. We already shot the pod. Stop defending your girl, first of all. My girl. I don't understand. I do not understand what goes on in the minds of people where they just go, this is good. What is KSI? I'm old. I don't get it. No, you're just not British. That's why you don't get it. KSI is probably the most famous British YouTuber. He's black. And he is the most famous British YouTuber. But that, like, her saying this is a KSI baby is just irrelevant to the conversation, okay? Yeah, Simon are the OG YouTube. KSI is famous for being bald and also probably the most famous, might be one of the most famous bald men in the UK, and certainly the most famous content creator from the UK in general. Nah, pushback hairline, bro, come on. Okay, yeah, he's also the most famous rapper. He's the most famous rapper from the UK. Hold on, let me give you a taste of it, okay? I know he like sometimes DMCA's people, I think, when they make fun of their music, but I'm just gonna show you like the best part. Yeah, that's it. I don't know nothing but no knows I skated. I'm in the thick of it. Everybody knows. They know me where it snows. This is peak. This is peak. This is peak. 116 million views, bro. This is peak. Anyway, I don't know why I'm also I mean, I don't know why I'm shitting on the guy. He just got hate crimed a little bit. But yeah, this is crazy. My 9-year-old loves this song. I don't know nothing but no ice, I'm just cold. Yeah. You gotta support your girl. Let's get it. This song has crazy earworms. He's not bald. Brother, this kind of hairline is only achieved in anime. Okay? Like that's not like this is like a hairline that there's someone that's like crazy, going crazy with a pen draws, okay? I have never seen a hairline like this out in the universe, okay? I've never seen that. He's got the Japanese samurai offering fealty to his lordship haircut, but instead of cutting it so that he can put the samurai armor on his head better, this is just organic, homegrown. It's crazy. He knows, bro. He knows everything. Bro, he invented white people. What are you talking about? I don't understand why he's holding on. Just either it's like go to Turkey, man. Go to Turkey. Either go to Turkey or just, you know. Dr. Yakub, if he slayed, yes. Dr. Yakub, but instead of inventing white people, he invented rap music. Anyway. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, that's KSI. Okay, that's KSI. That's KSI. He's chill. I don't really know. I've never met him, but he seems fine. He's had some oopsies, but honestly, for my metric, it's like if you're a big content creator for many years, if you only have like a couple oopsies and no like serious crimes, you know what I mean? Then you're probably the best it's gonna get, right? You're not playing the best part. I don't want to do it to you. I don't want to do that to you. I don't want to do that to you. You're not playing the best part. Okay, you guys literally want it. You want the smoke. You want the devastation. From the screen to the ring, to the pen, to the king. Where's my crown? That's my bling. Always drama when I ring. See yeah. From the screen to the ring, to the pen, to the king. Was my crown, that's my bling. Always drama when I ring. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Okay. This is why I don't listen to music. I listen to music one time and then it extends my no listening to music hiatus by like a couple months. Okay. I did this to myself. All right. What the fuck? Oh. Hold on. I gotta deal with something real quick. Anyway, we're getting started. We'll do it. We'll start with this real quick. I gotta deal with something here. I got a guy. My mom wanted to fix something in the kitchen, so there's a kitchen appliance guy that just showed up, and I just gotta bring him inside real quick. Greatest rule of thumb, of course, is that if you have to call yourself masculine or alpha, then you probably do not exhibit those qualities in general. People keep asking me whether or not we need a Joe Rogan to the left, or whether or not I am the Joe Rogan to the left, and I keep repeating to the Democrats at least that like a Joe Rogan is not going to solve their problems. They need to change their policies.
I think recently you said on Twitter or something like that you realized that you hadn't taken a weekend off from streaming in 18 months or a year and a half or something like that?
18 months, no, since 2018.
2018, that's what it was, since 2018.
I had not taken 3 continuous days off.
Right, you can't do that at 60.
That's what you think.
All right, y'all, if you are a regular listener to this show, then you know that for the past couple of years, I have been very interested in the state of masculinity. We've talked about the rise of bro podcasting, the male loneliness crisis, male body image, and there is one man that I think embodies all of these conversations. Hasan Piker.
Oh, damn, the grays came immediately, right as soon as I got up. That's crazy. Yeah, so I got another update by Twitch CEO Dan Clancy on view botting. Yeah, we'll get into that in a second, but yeah, yeah, we're gonna talk about the YouTube ID discourse as well. It's very stupid, but yeah, I went on. It's been a minute. I went to the NPR studio. I went to the NPR studio in Los Angeles. We were supposed to do this in New York in person, but unfortunately we couldn't do it in New York in person because I was, filming some other stuff. I think she wasn't there at the time that I was there. In any case, we did it. It's been a minute. It's a 42-minute conversation. It was pretty good. I hope it's I love doing these sorts of podcasts because it's great to show your family members or whatever, you know what I mean? It's when I go on, I don't know, a bro podcast, right? That's good for all the bros. You can show your bro friends. When I go on NPR, you can show your older liberal moms and stuff like that. But yeah, we did this.
He is a hugely popular Twitch streamer who talks about progressive politics with his more than 2.9 million followers. He's covered topics ranging from the war in Gaza to immigration and even the New York City mayoral race. He also has hugely loyal fans. Here's just some of the things they say about him. Shaka143 of TikTok says, "Tell him, Habibi." Swept the Leg from Reddit says, he is a himbo gateway drug to leftist thought. And lil.gay.ray from Instagram says, not to be dramatic, but I'd die for this man, LOL. You know, Hasan, I don't know if I've ever heard the term himbo gateway drug before. Is that how you describe yourself?
Yeah, I think that nails it, I guess. What is this? The description, not to be dramatic, but would you die for Hasan Piker? For some of you, Hasan Piker needs no introduction. He's one of the leading voices in progressive political content online, boasting a massive 2.9 million followers on Twitch alone. He's polarizing, charismatic, and kind of a bro, and his fans love him. Just take his Instagram comment, for example. Not to be dramatic, but I'd die for this man, lol. With all the discourse about young men flocking to the political right because of online commentators like Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn, some have started asking if Piker is the Joe Rogan of the left. A fan on TikTok did refer to Piker as the himbo gateway drug to leftist thought. Just gateway drug to empathy, the himbo format.
I will say, I do think that this is a super useful example to get into something else that is kind of going on. You haven't just gotten attention for your politics. There's also been a lot of talk about your specific brand.
Dude, Schizo Abe, dying for an online commentator is not revolutionary. Yeah, man, it's a joke. I don't know if you know this, but you know what's revolutionary? Taking an Instagram comment seriously. That is the peak revolutionary form right there.
Masculinity. Earlier this year, you were profiled by the New York Times, and that headline was really something.
I think the original headline was progressive mind in a MAGA body. That's what it was.
Yes, you are correct. The headline was progressive Hasan Piker, a progressive mind in a MAGA body. Which, I have to ask, What is a MAGA body? Like,
I don't
do you
know.
know what that is?
No, I believe that they were trying to say that like this is the manosphere, and there's a lot of content creators in the manosphere that like work out,
Mm.
and I think that's what they were trying to point to. But like when you invoke the MAGA body, I don't think most people, New York Times readers or not, are going to look at that and think like a very brolic guy. They're going to think of, I don't know, someone like a normal American, the average American. The New York Times was specifically, I think, trying to invoke the image of this this masculine man who works out quite a bit.
I find it interesting, perhaps the everyday person might think of a MAGA body as like, an everyday person's physique. Yet, it sounds like that headline kind of tied masculinity to a certain type of physique or masculinity to MAGA
Yeah,
in a really specific way.
for sure. I think that's deliberate, and I think it's wrong. For which, like, I don't think masculinity is associated with MAGA. I don't even think masculinity is necessarily associated with working out. I think what we consider to be masculine is just confidence. That's what I believe is like the number one mistake that many people make when talking about masculinity. It's just an outward expression of confidence and like I guess a demonstration of leadership skills. That's what
Mm.
most of these people are pointing to when they talk about being alpha or being masculine in general. Like a lot of these people online.
Women can't be confident. No, first of all, women can be masculine as well. And you're misunderstanding my point. I'm not saying this is the correct interpretation of masculinity. I'm saying that what people consider to be masculine values is basically just a demonstration of confidence. Okay? Like, whenever someone says, oh, I'm alpha, like the value that they're describing with that terminology is simply being confident. That's it. And it's ironic because none of those people are actually confident. Like, if you have to consistently relitigate how confident you are, how macho you are, how masculine you are, you probably aren't that, and you're insecure about it, and that's why you're making up for that insecurity by really hamming it up and consistently explaining to people how masculine you are or how alpha you are. That's it. If you got to keep telling people you're that, then you don't have it. You ain't that.
The greatest rule of thumb, of course, is that if you have to call yourself masculine or alpha, then you probably do not exhibit those qualities in general.
You talk a lot about working out. You also like video games. And on top of all of that, you talk about politics on the internet, but these are very much right now activities associated with bro culture. Bros, I think, are often stereotypically considered to be conservative. Why do you think like these activities, like working out, video games, etc., why do you think they are so conservative coded?
I wouldn't say they're necessarily conservative coded. I would just simply say that they are easier to be branded as apolitical. I mean, there's a very funny, long-standing joke or meme in the gaming sphere where people will say, "Oh, why do you have politics in my video games?" Like, get politics out of my video games is like this rallying cry from Gamergate onward, and it usually is deployed at any video game that has like a black female protagonist, and then immediately that's like being considered as political. It's like the two genders, white man and political, and these guys will unironically say things like Call of Duty is not political or Call of Duty wasn't political until there was like a black woman in it. Yeah, they just don't understand that like Call of Duty has of course always been political. I mean, it's sometimes making a criticism of American imperialism. In other instances, it's quite literally defending American imperialism, but it's never not political. It's just that a lot of guys don't read it as politics when it's something that they agree with or aren't putting much thought into. And I think that's what happens in a lot of these spaces for a lot of these hobbies is that we cede territory to right-wing actors because they get to angle it as though they're above the interests of politics. Don't try to read too much into this thing. Just enjoy it. Which is interesting because I kind of do that as well. Like I say that same thing every now and then. Like I had Dr. Abdul El Sayed on yesterday. He's running for senator in Michigan, in the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
He's great. He's also kind of a bro himself. He loves working out.
I've seen him post
All-American.
about it online for sure.
Yeah. And And we were talking, and he said something. He was like, I felt bad. I felt uncomfortable, but I really like Top Gun. And I was like, dude, you don't have to say that. Like, yeah, it was a good movie. Sure, it's a movie about American imperialism, but like, it's a good movie. Sometimes it's okay to just be like, I like this. This is funny. I like this movie. This is a good movie. It was well shot.
But I wonder, like, his hesitation to embrace or even to openly embrace like his love of Top Gun with him and also sometimes other politicians or other public figures, there is this desire to not be associated with things that kind of bro culture. Do you think that there is almost like some, I don't know, like some residue there or something that people don't want to touch or don't want to like associate themselves with right now in terms of like bros in general?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I think that there is still a heavy focus on the aesthetics for a lot of politicians on the liberal side of things, on the Democratic Party side of things, and I think that heavy focus on the optics of it all makes people a lot more careful when bracketing themselves in a certain way. I think that if they were more policy focused, it wouldn't really matter necessarily whether they're coming in this like broy veneer or not. But I think what's most important is to just be honest and be earnest and be who you are. That's what I am, at least. And that's why it's always funny when, the New York Times is writing about me and they ask me like, do you feel like this is a carefully crafted, perfectly balanced out character that you've created? And it's like, no, it's just no, I just grew up playing video games. I like playing basketball. I like competitive sports. And I like working out. This is just who I am.
A lot of young guys go like have the same interests and end up going down another political pipeline. And you came out progressive. Like, what kind of caused your political development to?
When was this filmed? This was a while. It was like a month ago, maybe. It was a while back. We were supposed to originally do this in New York when I was in New York, but we couldn't because she wasn't in New York. We were supposed to do this in we were supposed to conduct this interview in person, but we didn't get to do it.
Lean toward progressivism.
I mean, growing up in Turkey, I always had a much more liberal slant, I would say, especially because I saw the formation of the Erdogan coalition, the Erdogan government, and I saw the repressive nature of conservatism. One of my first interactions with government repression in general, was when Recep Tayyip Erdogan sued one of the cartoon newspapers that I used to read with political satire. And that's when I was like, whoa, this is messed up. I don't really like this guy. Outside of that, I, growing up in Turkey, always had an anti-imperialist slant. Brother, can you suck your own dick, pussy? Yeah, I can, actually. Don't care, bitch. Dude, lose 100 pounds. You're a tool, bitch. The fit is gay. Fit is mad gay. Can't lie. Don't fucking care about that broad. Don't care, bitch. Dumbass Turkey. German Turk shouldn't be a thing. Damn, this dude is so funny. Fuck bitch ass Israel and bitch ass Palestine. This guy is just like an equal opportunity angry man. He just hates everybody, I think, and himself. W-I-L tortillas. Fuck Jason the dweeb. Okay, well, that's a bridge too far. You get clapped for that. Okay. Disgruntled centrist? Yeah, not nephew. You can't do that. Yeah, 2018 account, 40 years old. I had to move my couch and recliner earlier, but I accidentally dropped it down the stairs. I witnessed the fall of the Ottoman. Okay, good one, dude. I'm sure it was as devastating. How much of the current men's rights movement, which are associated with hate groups, only have oxygen because leftists don't take that space? No, I don't think it's because leftists don't take that space. I mean, I do. Here's what I think about leftists not being able to, quote unquote, take up space. If you are on the left, on the political left, you are not being represented by party politics. You're not being represented by the liberal media ecosystem. You are, as a matter of fact, considered antagonistic to both the left flank of media. This isn't to say that they're leftists, liberals, right? And certainly considered public enemy number one to the right flank of the media. This creates an environment where you're catching it from both ends and you're just basically on an island by yourself. Okay? Right-wingers, no matter how far right they are, can still be elevated by and represented by the right flank of media. Okay? That's the difference. This is precisely the reason why you don't see a lot of like leftist commentary in these spaces, because right-wing commentary, no matter how far right, still gets elevated all the way up to Fox News. There is a closeness to what even someone like Nicholas Fuentes is saying with someone like the Fox and Friends people. You know what I mean? Like they are on the same. They're one might be a little bit more extreme than the other, right? And there are certainly some issues like blaming Jews where they're completely at odds with one another. But overall, their worldview is close to one another. There's a closeness to it. Whereas for liberals don't want even basic social safety net expansion. Like liberals in the media, by design, as a consequence of their job, as a consequence of like what their role is in society, do not even want to present modest expansion of these social safety nets. And this is precisely the reason why people like Tucker Carlson get to flood the marketplace with commentary on Gaza, for example. Anti-Zionists who are on the left, anti-imperialist, anti-Zionists, have been talking about this issue for decades, myself included. But the most prominent voices in American discourse right now, American political discourse right now on what Israel is doing in Gaza are all right-wingers, and that is by design. The reason why it's all right-wingers isn't just because like the media wants or is more comfortable with right-wing voices as opposed to like leftist voices. That plays a role in it. But I think like that major motivation from even liberal outlets in general that will every now and then with sympathetic people that work in places like NPR, like such as this interview, right? They'll drip feed people like myself into these top rosters and my worldview into these like platforms. But I will never have the same placement as like Scott Jennings, right? Or someone who has my politics will never have the same consistent placement on liberal outlets in a way where even like the Podjohns can get it. You will never see Tucker Carlson's position on Israel on Fox News. Yes, but also Tucker Carlson came from Fox News, right? Like he is the perfect example of this, where like he already is an OG Fox News demon. He is a Fox News manufactured creation. Like they made Tucker Carlson. They gave him the largest platform he could possibly have. And then he took that influence and he took that platform, and now he can do stuff on the independent side. And he still carries a lot of weight with his voice. This is what happens. This is usually what happens. This is how right-wing voices are so much more prominent than left-wing voices, even on the independent media side. Many of the right-wing voices are also directly funded by the same institutional donors to the Republican Party, because there is an ideological commitment to a project, right? We've said this before. I talk about this all the time, but it's like, if you want to do a real left-wing broadcast, it has to be grassroots, because no institutional donor is ever going to fund a media initiative that revolves around dismantling a system that they benefit from, a system that they have designed, a system that they are purposefully participating in. Like, what billionaire is going to be like, I'm going to give $100 million to a guy that says billionaires shouldn't exist? That's not going to happen. So leftist voices have to create a grassroots movement. There are not that many Engelses out there, is what I'm saying. Okay. It's not common. And the closest you can get to that is a guy like George Soros, and his foundation is not leftist at all. It's very much liberal. And liberalism is always going to be antagonistic to leftist values and leftist politics. When push comes to shove, and there's an issue that hurts their bottom line, liberals are going to openly present the left as an antagonist, openly present the left and left momentum as a spoiler.
Which is a given usually for people on that side of the planet who are privy to the negative consequences of American empire, who get to experience it firsthand, or at least secondhand. But when I came to the United States of America, I think that's what was like such a radicalizing moment for me. It was healthcare. It was the ambulance bill that I got when I was in college. I was like, this is insane.
What happened? If you can share. If not, understandable.
I just blacked out. I didn't call the ambulance myself. I just woke up at the hospital, and then I saw the bill, and I was like, I can't believe it. And I already had this attitude that a social democracy is perhaps the best possible way to go about things, because I came from Turkey. I saw the importance of public education, free public college, and a nationalized healthcare system. Even if it's not the best funded, it's still really good that it exists, right? That's the attitude that I had. And then when I saw private healthcare here, I was like, oh, it's over. This is never. This is the worst thing on the planet. We need to put an end to this immediately. Whoever is doing this, they need to stop, was my initial attitude.
I could see how that would be a complete shock if it's something you never had to think about before. And you call an ambulance to pick you up in an emergency in a time of need, and then suddenly you're like, oh, this costs money. But I don't think it's something that anybody wants to think about when they're in like a low moment like that.
Yeah, and also I'll admit, like, I think I was too well educated at that point to be duped by some dude online being like, that's because of Mexicans that you have to pay for this ambulance. But I do think that in that moment of weakness, in that moment of anger and resentment, if there was someone out there who was charismatic and I wasn't very well read and I did not know that there was an alternative readily available, like a public healthcare system was readily available that I had seen work in a much poorer country like Turkey, I probably would be like, I'm really pissed off. Who else is pissed off with me? And if you got a dude on YouTube saying, yeah, I'm pissed off too. You know why we're pissed off though? Because the Democrats care about Mexicans and Guatemalans and trans people, and you should be pissed off about that. That's weird, right? And you know, all of that combined, I think, creates this perfect powder keg where young men who are already predisposed to reactionary tendencies find themselves swept away, desperate for a sense of community, desperate for an identity. They find themselves in right-wing circles, and they unironically wear it as a brand, where they think that being politically right-wing is a way to demonstrate your machismo, is a way to demonstrate how masculine you are. It's kind of funny because it's not the case. And I feel like I brick a lot of people's brains for that reason. And then they see that and they just can't contend with it. Where like in a world where you look more like Ben Shapiro than myself, you want to believe that simply saying the things that Ben Shapiro is saying is going to make you more masculine.
We're talking about sort of how your progressive politics have developed over time. And speaking of your politics, like you have done interviews with AOC, Bernie Sanders, Zohran Mamdani, but also you've sat down with figures like Theo Von, and most recently, at least at the time of this conversation, the Nelk brothers,
The Nelk
or the
boys.
Nelk boys, right after they,
The Nelk
right
brothers.
after they had interviewed Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was something. It was something. What's your thought process behind engaging both progressive politicians and people who share similar politics to you, as well as, you know, more conservative or questioning figures like, you know, the Nelk Boys and Theo Von?
So I bracket those guys off as, like, I guess, apolitical. Like in the, you know, they represent the median voter quite well, as a matter of fact, especially
Wait,
with how.
you mean you just to pause, you mean you bracket someone like Theo Von more as apolitical, or you consider the Nelk Boys apolitical as well? No, you think they're conservative.
I'm saying that they're conservative, but they're not a mouthpiece for the party in the same way that like the Daily Wire is, or the same way that Charlie Kirk is. So those guys are. Nelk is probably at the tail end of this. Like that's the closest to the Daily Wire and the PragerUs of the world. Whereas like the Theo Vons and you know Andrew Schultz and all of these other podcasts, like they just kind of go along with the wind. and they will find themselves swept away with like right-wing sentiment. I mean, to a certain degree, one might even consider it to be grifting, I guess. But I think it's more so just like someone who doesn't have a well-defined political worldview. The reason why I consider them in a separate category than like the Daily Wires of the world and the Charlie Kirks of the world, the Fox News of the world, is because like those guys are deliberately doing right-wing political propaganda, and their entire job relies on them being a consistent defender of the Republican Party and reactionary thought. Whereas a lot of these other podcasters, they will change their attitude. While they command influence and attention within the base of support for the Republican Party, they will change their perspective. As you know, they'll jump ship, I guess, far before any Republican commentator ever would. They're easier to convince, and therefore their audiences are easier to convince.
Is that something you take into account then when sort of like debating these guys or having or like, you know, streaming with them or talking to them?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely something I take into account.
What is this comment? Is this the guy Hassan who very much... So this is the famous Hassan who LARPs as a leftist but is really a Nazi at this point, much less tame than I heard. Yeah, I mean, you should question why you think I'm a Nazi when my output and things that you hear from my mouth are exactly the diametrical opposite of Nazi beliefs. This should be a moment where you go, you know what? Maybe he's not this person that some random dipshit on the internet has presented him as. That's why so many people who come in here and have this kind of attitude just kind of let it, they just say that, and then that's it. They never explain it. They never have a follow-up to why they think this way. Beyond, here, I unbanned this person because I want to hear what he has to say. So this is the famous Hassan who loves the leftist but is really a Nazi at this point, much less tame than I've heard. I suspect that if you were to dig deep and try to figure out what my worldview is, you'd find yourself agreeing with a lot more than you disagree with. There's a comment that you read once that lives in my head. Why does mainstream media keep interacting with this guy? It's like they just don't care, or we're wrong about him. I know. And it's really interesting because a lot of people don't just go, maybe this entire community that we've designed, not around real political opinions or anything, and just simply cultivated drama around this person is wrong. And all of these like other educated journalists who have a political opinion might actually be right about him, and we might be wrong about him. But instead of entertaining that notion, I think a lot of people turn around and fantasize even. They just like go after even more ridiculous fantasies. Like it's a QAnon style situation where I just have like blackmail on all of these people, whether it be the Twitch CEO or whether it be journalists in all of these other reputable outlets. Or maybe perhaps all these outlets are wrong too, you know? Latest is you paid $20K for this NPR interview. That's so funny. That's like when people say I'm on steroids. I take that as that's great. Thank you. Thank you for thinking that I'm competent enough to hire a PR team that is getting me all these media hits. And it's not just like my poor manager who is taking in all of these inbound requests that are coming in for these interviews. Yeah. What's going on with your voice, dude? I made the mistake of drinking alcohol at the age of 34 one time. Yeah, I saw this. I know. Hassan, it doesn't matter how many puff pieces you buy. You will never outrun your own reputation. A Nepo baby, terrorist-loving, America-hating, tanky, degenerate, and womanizing creep. He for sure spends at least $20,000 a month on PR based on my experience. Based on my experience is so funny. Does that mean Ethan is paying $20,000 a month for a PR firm and they just haven't been able to like get him into any of these outlets? Is that what that means? Because goddamn, dude, I think a lot of people around this man are just farming him. They're just basically farming him aggressively for whatever wages they can justify. Every accusation is a confession. I mean, this is literally a confession. According to Taylor Lorenz, he's a meme in journalist circles because he keeps asking for a puff piece. I would give him I would give him free ball right now because I obviously have been in these spaces for quite a while. I have a lot of fantastic journalist friends, for example. But I'm not going to do that because there are outlets you could go to. I'm just not. God, I always love giving ideological enemies good advice for some reason. So I'm not going to do that. That's my New Year's resolution. Using America hating as a position that should be reconsidered tells you everything you need to know. I know this is like Steven Crowder shit. Okay, a nepo baby, like nepo baby is not even something that I hide. You know, I am a nepotism recipient. Shouts out to Uncle Jank. But terrorist loving, America hating, tanky, degenerate, and womanizing creep. It's like, dude, you sound like you're writing for Breitbart. None of this is new. Like this is what I've heard my entire career as a political commentator. It's just, I've never heard it from someone who still tries to cling on to the notion that they are a liberal. Womanizing creep is so funny. You hate America. Yeah. Doesn't he still say he's progressive? I don't fucking know. I don't keep up with him. I just only see shit every now and then whenever he just like has a Hasbara moment on the Hasbara Hate Hassan podcast. That's what the H3 stands for now. Hasbara Hate Hassan. Yeah. I think these guys just don't understand how this stuff works. Like, they can't contend with the reality that there's like a fuck ton of journalists that are in this community, like with regular frequency. You know what I mean? They don't understand that there is a ideological diversity represented even in mainstream institutions. And some of them are like, oh yeah, I want to interview this person. Like, that's it. The Piker Broadcasting Service is, of course, funded by you, the viewers. For you, the viewers. This one is funny, too. I don't even know what the critique is here. This is incredible. Hassan at various points refers to himself as a progressive social democrat, NPR for Zoomers. He says that his privilege allows him to do emotional labor, being more patient with people who have regressive or bigoted attitudes. I mean, it's literally true. And I don't say I'm a social democrat. I say my starting point was social democracy. I don't even understand. Like, this is just your failure to understand the point. Why do these guys get so ass mad anytime any of these outlets are like, yeah, we should do they think they can just like harass NPR and NPR journalists into submission. It doesn't work that way. Okay. These aren't like squishy liberal influencer types that are going to get really scared when they see like a fuck ton of brigaded comment sections. These are journalists who already eat that every day. Like, they're hardened reporters who have already experienced an endless amount of hatred from the right. So when they see stuff like this, they know exactly what it is. You know, these are people whose ops are the president, and you're over here being like, this guy's bad. How dare you interview this person? It's like, okay, dude, good luck. Anyway. Yeah, Richie Torres is back on his bullshit. I know. We'll talk about that. Regarding PR, are you paying Hoscord and Hostwit $20K combined a month, or is it $20K each? I would like to know how much, so I should be requesting. Yeah. Bill me. Hassan, you got so old. That's what happens. You know, time passes, seasons change, and last year I was 33 and this year I'm 34. I think it's just a part of human nature. I don't know. I don't mean to freak you out, chatter, but you're also getting older every single day, as a matter of fact. You just gotta, father time is undefeated. You just gotta make sure that you try and get comfortable in your own skin and age as gracefully as you can. Where were we? Yeah. I'm going to get into the news. This guy should start doing political commentary. He knows a lot. Oh, yeah. This guy that was being interviewed, I think he knows a thing or two. Yeah. He's been around the block a couple times. What is this? Someone asked a good question. What's the last time your old brain remembers the world changing to make things better? As recently as Zohran Mamdani's electoral victory in the Democratic primaries in New York, the dramatic attitude change where the Western world populations recognize the cruelty of Israel and the humanity of the Palestinians. These are all things that happen quite fast, as a matter of fact. It took years and years to get here, but the attitude shift almost happened. It's seemingly overnight, as opposed to for however many years there was no movement in the right direction. Yeah. Why doesn't your stream have ads? Because the Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, Skullho, and many others like you. There are no ads on the Piker Broadcasting Service, except sometimes I do take sponsorships for video games, like I will be later tonight. But yeah, let's get to the news, because Donald Trump is doing the N-word, nukes, nuclear. That's right. We'll get back to the NPR interview later, potentially.
Donald Trump has posted online about moving two nuclear submarines to be nearer to Russia. Let me read you what he said. Based on the highly provocative statements of the former president of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, who is now the deputy chairman of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, I have ordered two nuclear submarines to be positioned in the appropriate regions, he says, just in case these foolish and inflammatory statements are more than just that. Words are very important and can often lead to unintended consequences. I hope this will not be one of those instances. Thank you for your attention to this matter. He finishes with an exclamation.
It can't be just me, right? That gets annoyed when he says, "Thank you for your attention to this matter." I feel like it's so whack that he ends his statements with that lately. That's his thing now. I like that instead of releasing the Epstein files, Donald Trump is just going to do the nuclear holocaust, finally end it all, you know? Nuclear winter imminent. Great.
Exclamation marks. So Donald Trump confirming that two nuclear subs have been moved to, in his words, the appropriate regions in response to words to do with the nuclear deterrent, by the way, of the former president of Russia, former prime minister as well, Dmitry Medvedev, who is now the deputy chairman of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, a politician who has long been very close to President Vladimir Putin. So a spiraling war of words over nuclear deterrence there, and now actions taken by the US to move two nuclear submarines to appropriate regions, they say, to be positioned in those appropriate regions in response.
Stocks are sinking sharply right now. The Dow is down. Take a look at this. The Dow is down right now a lot of points, 1.65%. The Dow Jones is down 729.
Is this good? I don't really understand numbers and stonks and the economy or tariffs. Is this good, chat? I mean, it'll rebound again. It's just like he'll just go back to it and be like, no more tariffs, we don't have it, and then everyone will buy, and then sell. I mean, it's there's a market correction. I don't really care about like market movements of this sort. I don't think the stock market is representative of the economy in general, like the health of the economy. I don't think the GDP is an adequate metric to understand the way that people exist. I don't think that it's a good metric. I don't think the stock market is a good metric either. It's a good metric for how much wealthy people are making money, like wealthy people who have parked all of their net worth into stonks. But yeah, a job report came out, and it was insane. A job report came out with that showed some numbers for the month of July, but that wasn't the real interesting part of this. Like there was limited job growth. It was less than expected, but not like too much. But the real scary part of the job report that came out was actually the correction in the past month's job reports, where apparently we did not get 114,000 new jobs. It was more like 14,000 new jobs, which is crazy. I feel like this is, I mean, if your estimate is off by, I don't know, 100,000 or 200,000, then you're not doing much of an estimate at all. You're just kind of making stuff up. It's no different than when Donald Trump says, you don't understand. The nation of Japan has given me $7 quintillion that I can purchase as many Labubus as I want with. That's right. They're making America great again. It's like, okay, so we got some IOUs. All right, got it. Where is the money going? Like, the roads are still dog shit. I don't think that is going there. The ISPs still offer horrible service, so I don't think it's going there either. Yeah, the net correction was minus 258,000 jobs than first reported. Now, look, I don't know if this is normal or not. I don't understand. I'm not an expert, right? But people that seemingly are experts here are saying, Justin, a weak jobs report. The U.S. economy added only 73,000 jobs in July. That's way below expectations. May and June revised down by 258,000. 75% of the July job gains came from healthcare. The unemployment rate ticked back up to 4.2 from 4.1 in June. Wages grew 3.9 in the past year versus 2.7 inflation. Heather Long continues, chief economist for Navy Federal, columnist at the Washington Post. The labor market is in trouble. Healthcare or social assistance are pretty much the only sectors hiring. This is not healthy. Retail plus 16,000, finance plus 15,000, hospitality plus 5,000. I mean, this makes sense. Do we really need more hospitality workers when tourism is taking a major hit? You know? I mean, like, what to do with hospitality when Donald Trump is basically saying, we're shut off to the rest of the world. If you come here, we will arrest you. You might actually be prosecuted. You might actually spend some time in an immigrant detention facility for an extended period of time for the crime of trying to come into the country and having like a JD Vance meme in your phone or something. Who the fuck is going to want to come here? State government plus 5,000, transport or warehouse plus 4,000, construction plus 2,000, professional business services are down 14,000. Federal government is down 12,000, down 84,000 since January. They almost fired. There were almost 100,000 people that lost jobs in federal government. 11,000 in manufacturing, directly tied back to tariffs and the tariffs mania. Because on the one hand, with tariffs, the inconsistency and the instability might be good for Trump's close friends and associates that know that he's not going to pull the trigger on the tariffs or whatever. But obviously, foreign corporations that have manufacturing facilities on U.S. soil do not like that inconsistency. It seems like they will respond by downsizing. This is a predictable outcome, something that people warned about. Not me, again, not an expert, but experts have warned about. Local government down 3,000, information down 2,000. My company just had layoffs announced today. Jesus Christ. But hey, guys, did you get laid off from your manufacturing job because the foreign company that hired you for a manufacturing job in a facility is worried about what the impact of tariffs, so they have to move some numbers around? Fear not. You can become a fucking Gestapo officer. That's great. Can't wait until we have a nation that produces nothing except for pain and violence, both in terms of manufacturing weapons, of course, but also domestic pain, so that everyone can be a Trump-backed loyalist SS guard. Great. Great. I thought you meant like wrestling. No, I mean like literally. It's going to get to a point where the only jobs that are available are ICE agents, like snitch hotline person, concentration camp guard, brown shirt brigade. Great. Love that. Like arresting the remaining people that actually work in construction and things of that nature. Meanwhile, Trump is what? In wake of bad jobs report, Trump wants to fire head of labor statistics department. Trump said on Truth Social that he will remove Erica McAnterfer as the Commissioner of Labor Statistics after the July employment report found that just 73 jobs were added. I don't know if this is because he's mad about like how little new jobs were added and she didn't lie enough, or because she lied in the past, or like the previous estimate was so off base that they think it's like ridiculous. I was just informed that our country's job numbers are being produced by a Biden appointee, Dr. Erica McIntyre, the Commissioner of Labor Statistics, who faked the jobs numbers before the election to try and boost Kamala's chances of victory. This is the same Bureau of Labor Statistics that overstated the jobs growth in March 2024 by approximately 818,000, and then again right before the 2024 presidential election in August and September by 112,000. These were records. No one can be that wrong. We need accurate jobs numbers. I've directed my team to fire this Biden political appointee immediately. She will be replaced with someone much more competent and qualified. Important numbers like this must be fair and accurate. They can't be manipulated by political purpose. Wait, but isn't she doing what she did for Biden, but for you, and you're mad that she actually didn't continue doing for you what she did for Biden? Also, the thing that I don't understand about this, the thing that I don't fully understand about this is like, are these jobs numbers just like phony, made up? Someone is just going around and just saying like, no, shit's great? Or is it like, I don't know how these statistics are tabulated. Is it because companies constantly have these like ghost jobs that they never fill, and then the Bureau of Labor Statistics actually responds to that as though these are like real job openings? Like, how do you get something like this so wrong? I don't understand. Also, I mean, this is anecdotal and it's not a great way to make an assessment, but the report from most people that have jobs, that want to get other jobs, and also most people that don't have jobs currently and want to get a job, is that they just keep applying to these millions of different job openings that seemingly are out there, and people don't even like call them back. Like, there's something so inconsistent with what's going on. Brutal. If you exclude these two categories, job growth has been running negative for 3 straight months. Basically, the only U.S. sectors in the U.S. economy that are adding jobs are healthcare and social assistance. That's crazy. It's also crazy because like we are a growing nation, right? I mean, we have 330 million people here. So there's like constantly new babies popping up. The population is constantly increasing, and therefore there should be more need. There should be more jobs. There should be more people working to fill those roles. You know, you need new houses, you need new homes, you need new roads, you need new cars. People need to build those things. And that's why there's no lump sum of labor, technically. Now, of course, you can create a second tier of labor to depress the existing wages. And America has done that consistently for decades with undocumented immigration. But even then, especially at a time when undocumented immigration has been curbed dramatically, there shouldn't be this kind of a response, I think. Yeah, this is the other side of the story that David Dane correctly points to, which is that the only source of labor stability right now, the only sector of labor stability right now, healthcare and assistance, social assistance, is getting at least $1 trillion cut, with insurance being cut to 15 million people. So that growth will bleed in the coming months. A worrisome futuristic jobs report. In the newsletter, Joe Weisenthal says, in the newsletter I wrote about today's labor market data and how it was not only bad, but bad in a specific way that could portend a more ominous direction for the economy. Today's non-farm payrolls report was not good, but it's more than that. There was something ominous about it, or like it was a glimpse into a weird future. Let's start with the data. The actual headline numbers weren't really that big of a deal. Headline job gains came in at 73,000 versus expectations of 104,000. Not the end of the world. The unemployment rate ticked up to 4.2%, but that's what the economists were forecasting, so that's fine. However, there are 2 mega asterisks everyone's paying attention to. First was the revisions. According to the BLS, the last 2 months of job gains were overstated by 258,000 jobs. Those solid post-tariff reports, an apparent mirage. Shocking. But then also, look at what sectors are adding jobs. And we already covered that. It's healthcare. 73,000 jobs were added in July. and 73,000 of them can be attributed to two low productivity sectors that increase mechanically almost every month as society gets more old and infirm. Everything else is stalling at best. It's actually worse than stalling, as Matt Basler noted. Without healthcare, the last 3 months of payroll gains look like this: minus 53,000 and minus 45,000 in June and minus 300 in July. Of course, we know in reality that it isn't just healthcare and social assistance that are growing. There's that whole AI thing going on, which is helping lift the entire stock market to record highs. Yesterday alone, Meta added about 200 billion to its market cap. Everything is so fake, dude. I mean, come on, dude. Everything is propped up by stonks, literally. That's the only area there where there is like noticeable growth, and it's completely fake. It's completely fake. It's all a speculation for the future that these companies are going to be completely destroying the existing labor pool. Like, that is what people are making money off of right now. The speculation that these companies that use artificial intelligence, okay, are going to be able to gut the existing labor pool. This is one of the best reasons why I always point to the stock market not actually being a good metric for a healthy economy. Because I always use the example of a merger, right? In the aftermath of like a mega merger, two companies merging with one another, right? Larger company eats smaller company, whatever. There are always layoffs that come in the process. They eliminate redundancies. Their stock price goes up because they've become more efficient, right? They've become more efficient due to horizontal or vertical integration as a consequence of this merger, or they've become more efficient because they've laid off all of these additional employees. So now you have tens of thousands of people that no longer have a job, right? They've been taken out of the labor force. They're clearly not doing better. Tens of thousands of families are now doing worse than they were before. And yet, the stock performance looks great for those who actually are wealthy enough to have been able to purchase stocks in this company are now doing better overall. How can you look at a system like this and still think this is a perfectly healthy way to look at to make an assessment on a perfectly healthy economy? It's not. It clearly isn't. At least stock performance in the past, to a certain degree, was associated with a product that you were manufacturing. You made the best planes, for example, or you found more efficient ways of building a plane. You had new technology, and then your stock went up. Now it's stock buybacks and market manipulation that plays a major role in people's stock performance. Obviously, this past year has been a downturn for Tesla, but Tesla is a great example of what I'm talking about. Tesla is not regarded as a automobile manufacturer. It's regarded as a tech company. So every time Elon Musk comes out and lies about whatever kind of new initiative that they're building, its stock performance goes up. It has nothing to do with the fucking cars that they're making at all. And as someone who isn't like a finance guy, I look at this from the outside and I'm like, how does this make sense? Finance guys try to explain to me, like, you don't understand. The analysis is different because it's a tech company. But I just don't, I can't understand it. Like the whole purpose of this, like the whole purpose of any kind of like valuation was supposed to be like what you are making and what, like how much revenue you're generating by selling things, okay? And how much it costs you to build those things that you're selling to begin with. And when you make an innovative product or when you find new technology, right? You are supposed to be rewarded in the market for that. That is how it's supposed to work. And yet, that's not how it works at all. Every company is a bank. It does not make sense. Larger write-offs when the stock plummets is this unproven tech, regulators on the board. This is not an argument. I'm not simply talking about like what the stock market has become. I'm also like, people will sometimes hear me say certain things about like cryptocurrencies or whatever, or the stock market, and they misunderstand it. Like, I'm fundamentally saying that the way that the stock market has been designed is not an indication of anything but wealth consolidation. That's it. And not even wealth consolidation for Americans either. Wealth consolidation for an international consortium of capital owners, faceless, lifeless capital owners. Numbers going up for them, regardless of whichever country they're in, as long as they've made this investment into a company, as long as they are shareholders, and nobody else. Everybody else keeps getting fucked in the process. But because we've also kind of created an environment where you feel as though you have a stake in this because you have a 401k, for example, a lot of people are deluded into thinking that they're doing better overall when the stock market's doing better overall. But within the stock market, the gains are privatized and the losses are socialized. So whenever companies are doing well, it's the wealthy that are doing really well as a consequence of that. And when the stock market is doing poorly, well, then everybody suffers. Of course, the wealthiest suffer significantly less. I don't know. I'm not a very intelligent person, especially when it comes to this kind of stuff. It's not my forte. But to me, it just feels so made up and so fake. And yet people defend this despite the fact that they're not getting anything out of it. Generally speaking, the other big tech giants are more or less riding the same wave. It's great for shareholders. It's great for some workers. Again, with Meta, it's been hiring top AI talent with compensation packages that are in line with professional athletes. But if you ignore this very small slice of elite AI talent, the labor market within tech doesn't look that great. Microsoft has been another huge AI winner with its cloud business growing like crazy. And yet even they've been cutting jobs. The CEO, Satya Nadella, even posted a memo about how the pace of layoffs at his company have been weighing on him. This is a weird state of affairs. Normally when a company's profits and stocks are booming, you just sort of assume them to be in hiring mode. No, you don't. That's it. That's what I mean. Like, you don't. You just don't. That's not, when has that been the case in like the last 25 years? You know what I mean? I feel like that's just never been the case. And this is a, gaming adjacent community. So I think a lot of you actually know this better than anybody else. Company, game developer comes out with a fucking banner prized AAA title. It's incredibly expensive. It rakes in billions of dollars. Record high profits. What comes immediately after that? Layoffs. It's just like, it doesn't make any sense. It literally doesn't make sense, but that's just how it's been for as long as I've been at least an adult and paying attention to this stuff. It's crazy. Yeah, Microsoft has reached $4 trillion in valuation after solid results. The only other company that has like a big T valuation is also, as Trump calls it, NVIDIA, right? What's the reason for both of these companies' valuation exploding? AI. What does AI do? They are experiencing tremendous stock performance for focusing their efforts on something that is a labor displacement mechanism. It is shredding labor. It's supposed to work to shred labor. I'm not against AI. I'm just saying, without regulation, without some kind of insurance that when the company tries to become more efficient by utilizing AI, they instead of firing employees, they have to give commitments, assurances to its labor force that they actually just lower the time that employees work and also boost their pay directly adjusted to the output that they have. With AI, if you are capable of doing 24 hours of work in a matter of 12 hours, then you should be paid for 24 hours of work in the 12 hours that you work, or you should at least work 6 hours to do the 12 hours of work now. That's how it's supposed to work. This is, of course, entirely antagonistic to capitalism. You say dream on, but I'm explaining to you something that makes sense, right? Like, I mean, you're not a boss. You're not Mr. Bill Gates, right? You're a guy that is watching me on Twitch. From your position, you should be advocating for this. This is what you should be advocating for. Less work, more pay. After all, Your fucking output is higher now. You are making more money for the company. You are more valuable as an employee. Your productive output has grown dramatically due to technological innovation. But companies look at that and go, hell yeah, now we can make one guy do the work of 10. Fuck the 9 other guys. We're firing them. And then the stock market goes, this is amazing. Thank you for firing the 9 other employees and making the one guy do the work of 10 now. We are going to reward you. This is efficiency, a higher profit margin. What a lot of people don't understand is like, you can't all be little capital owners, okay? That's not how this works. Like, everyone has this Sigma grind set mentality where they're like, dude, just you wait, man. I'm gonna put that little bit of money I have aside and become a little boss of my own. I'm gonna become a capital owner myself. And it's like, that's not how this works. It's batshit insane to me, says Ryan McCaffrey, senior executive editor IGN, that Turn 10, a studio that has literally never shipped anything less than a great game, Metacritic receipts attached, is being reduced to perhaps a support studio with these cuts. What an absolutely brutal business gaming is. Jason Schreier reports, many of Xbox subsidiaries are getting hit by the layoffs this morning, including Call of Duty studios such as Raven, big cuts at Forza Motorsport developer Turn 10, nearly 50% of staff per source. Anyway. But in this current system, investing early seems to be the only way anyone even has a chance to make it out of the rat race or be super talented. Okay, good luck. That's it. That bug has already hit you. You know what I mean? You've been duped. You've been duped. You've been duped. What capital do you have? What capital do you have? You can't make these major market moves that wealthy people can, okay? You got meager wages and maybe a little bit of disposable income, and you think that that is going to allow you to be able to get into the capital ownership class. This is precisely what I was talking about with like 401ks. People assuming that they actually can kind of game the system to their benefit when the system is designed to keep you servile. And the little meager crumbs that they offer you in the form of a 401k or the little money that you have in your pocket at the end of the month that you can like put back into the market is not making you a capital owner. It's making you fantasize that you can be a capital owner. A lot of people actually get mad at me when I say this because they're like, no, I want to dream. I want to dream of upward social mobility. And that's why people get very upset when I say this. I understand, but I don't think you should be discouraging people from investing. Yes, I understand the issue is at the core. I'm not. I'm just giving people a healthy dose of reality. And it's very frustrating for a lot of people because they look at that and they go, dude, this guy is not a Sigma grind set guy at all. He's actually telling me things are fucked and nothing can be salvaged. Okay, yeah, buy my course on my Discord server to make your money make money, okay? That's it. People would love it if I were to turn around and be like, guys, I'm going to give you the secrets of success, okay? I'm going to give you the secrets of success. Buy my course, buy my course, buy my course, buy my course. We're all going to hustle. As the resident brokey, I made $120 in brokey investments this year, but the day trader Nepo Baby made $120,000. Yeah, it's just dumb. So if you think about the current state of the U.S. economy, there's something vaguely futuristic about it. A very tiny handful of people getting generationally wealthy and powerful. A broad swath of people seeing their personal balance sheets improve because the stock market has been so hot. You could argue that the stock market has become something of a privatized UBI for people fortunate enough to have bought in. And then the only areas of actual widespread job growth being in areas that are tied to aging and health, much of which is sustained by widening deficit spending. What we're not seeing is any kind of general expansion and activity across the economy. A bad jobs report here or there is not the end of the world. They happen from time to time and people freak out and then they forget about it. However, the specific contours of this moment feel like a glimmer of a stranger, less comfortable future. It's interesting to observe the market today. 2-year yields are down sharply about 21 basis points, as you would expect, because the weakness in the data make the case for sooner cuts and more of them. Odds of a September rate cut are now at 88%. Just yesterday, they were less than 40%. And yet the action at the long end of the yield curve is less dramatic, with the yield on the 10-year down closer to 15 basis points. The market is telling us that over the long term, conditions will still warrant elevated interest rates, even if we're in a moment of stall. In fact, this is generally a problem for both the Fed and the White House. Today's data certainly makes the case for cuts make the case for cuts look stronger. In fact, at 8 a.m. this morning, Fed Governor Waller put out a statement explaining why he voted for a cut this week, and the argument holds up well. But if the goal is to revive the housing market or to reduce interest payments on the debt, which seems to be what Trump is interested in, it's not clear that we're going to get much juice from the squeeze on cuts. This is literally capitalism killing itself, okay? We are experiencing the final stage of Reagan-era neoliberalism in the United States of America. Uncontested capitalism in the aftermath of the dissolution of the USSR with no ideological market competitor basically eating itself alive, because every company wants to monopolize. Every company has a tendency for corporate consolidation because that's the only way you can engage in price fixing, you can engage in price leadership, and keep up shittier and shittier, increasingly shittier and shittier products, increasingly shittier and shittier services, while simultaneously boosting the prices. Okay? It's like Amazon. You capture the market, and then after that, you slowly but surely raise the prices. And if that's the case, and there's no regulation whatsoever against endless amounts of profit seeking from corporations, and corporations basically use the government like a fleshlight, okay? What is the other outcome here? Of course it's supposed to be like this. Of course this is inevitably going to happen, that capitalism is slated to crumble within its own contradictions. Not to talk about the big guy, okay? But this is it. Because endless greed means there's endless opportunity to seek out profits in areas that the welfare state is supposed to take care of, right? So you privatize those areas as well, with the hopes that you can make sure that you can keep returning more profits to the private sector. And then they rinse and repeat the same cycle of corporate consolidation, increasingly shittier products, increasingly shittier services, because it's not profitable. Everything gets worse overall for the average person, and people at the tippy top of society, the top 1% that increase their ownership over many different sectors, keep making fake money like the numbers that keep growing in the stock market. Meanwhile, on the other side of that, you have millions of people, tens of millions of people who are now jobless, who have to go into the gig economy to hopefully be able to feed their children. That's where we're at. Of course, people are going to be increasingly resentful. And now, when that resentment reaches a boiling point, you have fascism. Fascism restores order. Fascism creates a different villain, not the villain that actually has designed society in a way where you experience these horrible realities, where your dream dies of upward social mobility. Fascists tell you there's a secretive outgroup out there. For Nazi Germany, it was the Jews, it was the socialists, the trade unionists. For the United States of America, it's the undocumented migrants, the trans people. For Nazis, it was trans people too. It's always how it's worked, and that's the direction that we're going towards right now. Yeah, fascism is capitalism in decay, and capitalism is slated to decay if we just only try to max out corporate profits. Anyway, maybe things will turn around for the better, who knows? But as long as liberals hyper-focus on their true enemy, which they think is people like myself, saying it's your bosses, and it's the corporate profit seekers that are actually at fault for the way that this society is designed, I don't think there will be a lot of momentum in this direction. Because there are people all the way from the lumpen proles, the counter-revolutionary people who think, the temporarily embarrassed millionaires who are actually not millionaires at all the way to the modest millionaires and billionaires at the tippy top that either, one, demonstrate class solidarity because it benefits them, or think that if they actually suck up to the billionaires, one day they too will become a billionaire themselves. They defend a system that doesn't help them at all and actively fight back against anyone who tells them there is a different future out there. There is an alternative method out there. There is an evolution from this previous evolution, because obviously capitalism was good. in its inception. It was a better version of the previous methods of commodity production. But it's time for an alternative vision.
Points right now. That's a big number. This morning's lackluster jobs report and President Trump's new tariff policy clearly having a major impact. The Labor Department says just 73,000 jobs were added to the U.S. economy in July, far fewer than expected, and revised figures show June with the weakest job growth in more than 4 years. President Trump is also cementing his break with America's longstanding free trade policy as he announces sweeping new tariffs for the entire world. More than 60 countries now face higher rates. The new tariffs for any country with a trade deficit is now at least 15%. And more than 24 nations are being hit with an even higher percentage. These new rates will go into effect on Thursday. CNN is covering all the angles with Kevin Liptak over at the White House. Matt Egan in New York. Matt, let me start with you on the jobs report. Update our viewers.
Yeah, Wolf, this was an ugly report about the most important part of the U.S. economy, the job market. We learned this morning that the U.S. economy added just 73,000 jobs in July. That was weaker than expected. The unemployment rate went from 4.1 to 4.2%.
My impact.
As expected, still low, but moving in the wrong direction. But the big thing here that has economists and investors on Wall Street alarmed is the fact that the U.S. economy added almost no jobs at all in May and June. There were these massive revisions downward to those 2 months, showing that the economy added about 250,000 fewer jobs than previously known. June at just 14,000. Some context, that's the lowest since December of 2020. When you dig into some of the
Hassan, listen to me. Don't even give Republicans the fake W that the market is good, because it is not. These bullshit tariff dips left and right are dog shit for the market, and Kamala would have given us a higher stock market. Bro, I don't think you understand. I am fundamentally at odds with you if you think that I give a shit about the stock market performance. Okay? I just spent the last hour explaining to you in great detail that, like, the stock market performance does not actually mean your situation is better overall, or the average person's situation is better overall. And you just came in and you were like, well, my stock portfolio would look better if Kamala Harris was the president. That attitude is at the heart of why we are not getting the changes that are necessary and bouldering towards fascism. That's precisely my point. My point is, unless we move away from this kind of attitude and re-envision what a healthy economy looks like by putting labor first, by putting average Americans first and their existence first, we are cooked.
Sectors, almost all of the job gains in the month of July came from one sector, and that is healthcare. Other sectors, including manufacturing and business services professionals, they lost jobs. Leisure and hospitality, job growth in that key sector, that's bars, restaurants, hotels, it slowed to almost a complete standstill. And so why is this happening? Well, two big things. One is the immigration crackdown. That is making it hard for businesses that want to hire to find the workers that they need. The other big factor, of course, is this historic trade war. All of this chaos with tariffs that are seemingly changing by the hour, it's paralyzed a lot of businesses. CEOs, they may want to hire, but they feel like they can't because they don't understand the rules of the road. The bottom line here, Wolf, the job market has been so resilient for years, but right now it is coming under significant pressure.
A lot of pressure indeed. I want to get to the new trade policy that's unfolding, Matt, right now. Some countries are celebrating their new tariff rates while others are slamming the U.S. Give us some perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking at historically high tariffs from the Trump administration. The big key here is that countries that have a surplus with the United States, right? Countries that the United States has a trade surplus with, their minimum tariff is going to be 10%. Countries that the United States has a deficit with, it's going to be 15%. That's the new minimum. But we also know that starting on August 7th, number of countries are going to have even higher tariffs than that, including Taiwan at 20%, India at 25%, South Africa 30%. Canada on the non-USMCA compliant goods, 35%. The highest in the world is Syria. The other big development is the White House has announced a 40% tariff on transshipments. These are goods that go from high tariff countries to low tariff countries before they come to the United States. This is a 40% tax on top of existing penalties. Bottom line here, Wolf, is we are talking about historically high tariffs that we have not seen in the United States in almost a century.
Interesting. Kevin Liptak is joining us from the White House. Kevin,
They made the ships woke. They're transing the ships. I heard that.
the president has been negotiating with two of America's biggest and most important trading partners. We're talking about Canada and Mexico, our neighbors. Where do things stand on that front?
Yeah, and I think the relative fate of Canada and Mexico gives you a good illustration of how the president has approached all of this, because they have fared dramatically differently in this trade war. When it comes to Mexico, President Trump spoke to that country's president, Claudia Sheinbaum, yesterday and announced this 90-day reprieve from the heaviest tariffs. So they'll remain at 25%. They were expected to hit 30%, but the president held off as he tries to work on this new trade deal with that country's president. He says that their relationship is improving. He says that the southern border makes a uniquely complicated trade deal to try and strike. Canada has fared very differently. The president jacking up tariffs on Canada from 25% to 35% for what he says was lack of cooperation in trying to combat the fentanyl crisis. The president has had obviously a very testy relationship with that country and with its new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, who said in a statement that Canadians will be our own best customer. He says that they'll work to diversify their trading relationships throughout the world. And so in these two examples, I think you have a good illustration of how the president is approaching all of this. One, these interpersonal relationships continue to be very important for the president. But when it comes to Canada and a number of other countries, you see the president using tariffs and using trade to try and exert his other geopolitical priorities. I think the other big question is whether all of this is set in stone. The president has obviously in the past shown a degree of flexibility on these rates. I think it is clear, though, that we're now entering a very different trade era.
Economist and the president of the Budget Lab at Yale University, Natasha Sarin, is joining us right now. She was also a counselor to President Biden's Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen. Natasha, thanks so much for joining us. I'm anxious to get your thoughts on the July jobs numbers that were just released this morning. Economists expected a much higher number. What's your reaction?
Well, my reaction is that what we are seeing in the economy is that the tariffs are really starting to bite. Because what happened this month is the labor market has proven to be weaker than we anticipated, both for this month here in July, but also these really substantial downward revisions for May and June, which indicate to us exactly what the models that my colleagues and I at the Budget Lab have been producing, which is when you have tariffs at these incredibly high levels, the effective tariff rate in the economy now, post all these new deals that we saw over the course of the last few days, is at about 18%. That's about 7 times what it was when President Trump took office. And that is going to lead to a smaller economy. It is going to lead to 500,000 fewer jobs in the economy. And frankly, that's what we're starting to see.
And as you mentioned, Natasha, numbers for May and June, jobs numbers, were revised down dramatically by more than 250,000 jobs. May saw just 19,000 new jobs added. June had only 14,000. These are huge decreases from where they were previously reported. What does this tell you about the numbers?
Well, what's really interesting.
I genuinely don't understand. Like, I'm not an audio pervert. I don't care that these glitches happen, but I truly don't understand how CNN has not fixed this problem. Like, every single one of their videos has this issue. I don't get it. Like, do they not have a single person? Do they not have a single person working over there that just like looks at the YouTube videos after the fact? Am I the only guy who is watching CNN YouTube videos? I don't get it. It's crazy. Reminds me of someone. No, my audio is spectacular as opposed to CNN. Jesus Christ. And also, once again, this is a one-stop shop, okay? This is a one-person operation. And we work through a lot of those problems in real time while we're doing live production. This is a VOD that this is a VOD issue with CNN all the time. And it's also like it's a major media conglomerate. Okay.
Interesting, Wolf, is that I think it kind of comports with what you might expect in a world in which there's just so much uncertainty around where these trade deals and where policy is ultimately going to land. Because if you're a business in this country and you're trying to think about making decisions about new workers to bring on, or where it makes sense to invest, or where it makes sense to build, you're frankly in wait and see mode because you don't at all know the environment in which you're going to be operating in. You don't know how much it's going to cost to import parts to build those cars. You don't know the environment in which you're going to be able to bring in different types of products that you need to be able to sell if you're a retailer. And so I think what the economy is reflecting is that that type of uncertainty really has quite seismic consequences. And we're starting to see it show up in the labor market. Also this week, though, you're starting to see it show up in inflation. You're seeing durable goods inflation. That's particularly the sectors where the tariffs are having the most bite. It's things like furniture, consumer electronics. Inflation in the last 6 months has been grown at the highest rate that it's grown at any time in the last 4 decades, absent the pandemic. So this is an economy that sort of on both dimensions, with respect to inflation and with respect to the labor market, is showing signs of real challenge.
The president has been claiming almost every single day that the U.S. is the, quote, hottest country in the world when it comes to the economy. Listen to what he's been saying. I want to just play this clip.
We have the hottest country in the world now. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like he's just kind of saying shit. Guys, again, not a big economy guy, okay? Not the biggest economy guy. But it kind of feels like he's just saying shit. Okay. I don't know, man. It just feels like he's just making shit up. At a certain point, we got to go, hey, boss, your audio is crackling. My Sennheiser. Okay, stop. Why are you adding your own fucking username, dummy? I got it. It's funny. You're an audio pervert. Okay.
We have the highest stock market we've ever had. We have the best numbers we've ever had.
So, Natasha, what are you?
Yeah. In my opinion, today's job numbers were rigged in order to make the Republicans and me look bad. Just like when they had 3 great days around the 2024 presidential election, and then those numbers were taken away. Okay, but you're literally describing what the same person did for Biden, doing it for you. I don't get it. Like, he is saying that the very same person that he's now firing did this for Biden and now is doing it for him. And now he's saying it was bad when she did it. It was good. Like, she was working in favor of the Biden administration when she did this exact same thing for the Biden administration. But now when she's doing the exact same thing for him, it's bad. Right after the election, jobs were massively revised downward, making a correction of over 818,000 jobs, a total scam. Jerome Too Late Powell is no better, but the good news is our country is doing great. I don't think the country's doing great, because if it was, you wouldn't be doing this. Whatever the fuck this is, okay? He's a fucking idiot. Once you start viewing everything he says through this lens, it will make sense to you all. No, I know he's an idiot. I know that. I understand. I promise you, I understand that. It's just like, how stupid could he get is still something that has the capacity to shock me. A Trump stan, a Trump follower, someone who has followed Donald Trump for fairly closely for quite some time.
What's your reaction to that? What do the numbers actually show?
Well, the thing is, when President Trump took office, we actually had a very, very strong economy. The labor market was very strong, and you had inflation. It hadn't gotten all the way back to the Federal Reserve's 2% inflation target, but it was well on its way. The sort of challenge that the economy is facing right now isn't that we've had a financial crisis or that there's been some sort of seismic event like COVID. What's happening right now is we have this man-made crisis that's come as a result of these trade wars, where it's impossible for businesses to make any real decisions.
Like, one of the funniest parts about this like horrible situation overall is that things are slated to head in this direction regardless, unless the Democrats or the Republicans make the necessary changes that actually improve people's living conditions, living standards, and dramatically restructure the way that our economy is organized. They're never going to do that. Their job is to literally not do that. Okay. But Trump, on top of that, is accelerating the demise with the actions that he takes that make no sense whatsoever. It does genuinely feel like this is a necrophilic state that we're in, where it's dying, and the remaining things that we have, the remaining industries that we have, and the remaining like state. No, I'm saying necrophilic on purpose. I'm saying that they're fucking the corpse of America. Okay, they are having sexual intercourse with what remains of the carcass of the American state, the select few people. It is very much the demise of the USSR. Okay, it's giving. Wait, why'd you say gaming? Why are people saying copium gaming? Oh, is it because did the Steam thing download completely? Oh, that's why. You heard the Steam notification. Yeah. I know. Okay, calm down, everybody. Yes, gaming will happen today. It will. I got a hashtag ad from China. Wild, but also appropriate analogy. That's what it is.
About how to think about investment, and also
Dude, this guy keeps spamming it. Would you do an interview with Tucker Carlson if his producers reached out? Yes, I would. Okay, I would. He has a ginormous platform. It would not be a positive one, but I would. I've said it before. I will go on any platform.
For consumers, because essentially tariffs are a tax on literally everything the American consumer is buying. When you tax those goods, you make them more expensive, and that impacts the pocketbooks of the American people to buy those goods, but also changes their choices about other goods that they're going to be able to buy if the prices of things they need for things.
Breaking news this morning, economic news, brand new jobs numbers just out. You can see them behind me. In July, the U.S. added just 73,000 new jobs, below expectations, the unemployment rate at 4.2%. But the big news, really big news, major revisions for May and June, major downward revisions. Those months much, much worse than thought, really making them two of the...
It's crazy because they cooked Brandon when this happened. Trump literally brought it up. Trump brought this up with the Brandon regime too. Max Blumenthal, don't agree with all his takes. Obviously, neither do I. Calls it the necro economy, a corpse that produces no real goods in manufacturing. Only remaining goal is profiting off death and weapons. The deadly health insurance industry scam, the inefficient and deadly weapons and war industry are the only real things left, and the fake bullshit like AI and crypto. There's nothing there. Okay, with AI and cryptocurrency, there's nothing. There's no output. It's just not real. It's not a real thing. It's not like a tangible product. I guess you can say with AI, like it's supposed to be more efficient manufacturing, more efficient everything, but that efficiency comes at a cost, and that cost is the evisceration of labor. So what's supposed to happen? We just have like a 99% of the population be like servile little serfs, and the top 1% is just like unimaginably wealthy, and everyone else is just a slave. And it's all held together. There will be tremendous resentment towards that sort of thing, but all of that is held together by like a fascist military state with, I guess, the only remaining jobs being relatively well-funded soldiers that are there to make sure that any kind of discontent is stamped out violently. It's great. Fantastic.
The weakest month since the pandemic. Let's get right to CNN's Zane Asher for the latest on this. What are you seeing, Zane?
John, I don't know what to say. I mean, this number is bad. You mentioned the downward revisions, but if you look at this number, 73,000 jobs added compared to 115,000 that was expected. And you have to remember that...
Actually, I take it back. It will be cyberpunk. It won't even be like... There will be no function of the state, not even for military purpose. It will just be like private military brigades, PMCs that different corporations hire and are just like at a constant state of warfare with one another, and also consistently killing the working poor, you know? And we're not even getting any sort of cyber, any sort of like cybernetics or whatever. We're not even getting any of the cool stuff. No lifelike AI bot, artificial girlfriend. The best you'll get is like that horrible soulless grok.
In order for us not to be in the danger zone in this economy, the economy should be chugging along at least 100,000 jobs every month. The fact that this is below that is significant. You have to go back to October last year to find a worse number. As you mentioned, the downward revisions are really problematic. We're talking about June being 14,000 instead of 147,000.
That's a huge, huge
John,
discrepancy.
That is huge. And then you think about May coming in at 19,000. And a lot of the economists that I've been speaking to have been warning me that, look, when you start laying off the people whose very job it is to actually collect the data, that is likely at some point going to show up in the numbers. And the discrepancies is really what concerns me. I do want to talk about some of the specific sectors. I'll start with some of the positive numbers that we got. As we've spoken about time and time again, a lot of the jobs growth has been driven by healthcare, right? This is a care economy. You have an aging population. That seems to be doing relatively fine. Part of the problem, and what I find really problematic, and I'm waiting for Trump to post on Truth Social about these numbers, and wondering what he's going to say about Jerome Powell and the Fed needing to cut rates. But when you think about manufacturing is the one sector that the Trump administration has said that they want to help. That this whole sort of tariff game is about helping that sector. That sector is losing jobs by the minute. When you think about the fact that factories are not able to import raw materials, that you have factories in this country that are sitting idle, that factories are laying people off, and you have at least 11,000 jobs being lost in manufacturing, that's a problem. Construction is another sector. That's sort of, 2,000 jobs added. I mean, that's sort of relatively lukewarm here. You're not seeing much movement in construction. That's a sector that is definitely dependent on immigration. And when you have the fact that a lot of people in this country who are immigrants or from elsewhere are scared to show up to building sites, that's also a problem as well. We're seeing wages in construction actually soar and activity go down as well. Retail as a sector was okay, added about 15,000 jobs, sort of chugging along. Retail has obviously been problematic because of a little-known company known as Amazon, but also retail is heavily dependent on tariffs as well. I'm really curious about what Jerome Powell is going to say, not just because of the headline number, because it's not really just about the headline number, as you know, John. It is really about, A, what is beneath the hood, but also these downward revisions, which tell you that when I came on here last month telling you, the economy is resilient, that wasn't actually the case because of these downward revisions.
If we can get that other board up, because that's the one that actually tells the story. When you see job growth from month to month of 14,000, 19,000, and then in the 70s, hopefully that can come back up because that's the news here. You've got three anemic months of jobs growth.
Right.
Put that side by side with this new announcement that came overnight of these tariffs, which may or may not go into effect. See, right here, this is the news.
Right, this is
you
the
look
news.
at this. These are, and I'll just walk around. These are two of the weakest months we've seen since 2020.
Right.
14,000, 19,000. Those are very, very weak numbers. And it's also just statistically, and for those who keep track of things, way off from what they said before. But if you looked at a 3-month stretch like this, you'd say, wait a second, we've got an economy that's got some real challenges.
That's got a lot of work to do. And when you think about the fact that Liberation Day, yes, April 2nd rather, Liberation Day, we were sort of wondering when we were going to see the...
It's so great. It's so great to call it Liberation Day. Last bar seems fake. I mean, who knows? Who knows what it will look like when those job numbers get liberated too next month, when we go back and we're like, actually, we had 12 new jobs, not 12,000, just 12. We were wrong. Our estimation was wrong. Oops.
Effects of these tariffs.
Except that won't happen because Trump will probably put like some freak at the Bureau of Labor Statistics who, okay, if next month all of a sudden you see unprecedented job growth, tremendous job growth, just understand that the new guy is in charge, okay? Next month, we have we found out there are 1 million new jobs. It's crazy. So many jobs, more jobs than there are people. It's no one's ever seen anything like it. It's so much job. It's jobs. We're doing so many jobs. Jobs like you've never seen before. The hottest economy from the standpoint of heat.
On the labor market. And you and I were talking about the fact that, wow, we haven't actually seen it yet. Well, we did see it. It just wasn't reflected in the numbers. 19,000, as you point out, 14,000 jobs added in June. Clearly, it was having an impact. People were not hiring. You had so much uncertainty in this economy where employers just didn't feel comfortable actually hiring. And I'm wondering what Jerome Powell is actually going to do. He talked about just this idea of being data dependent. And now we're seeing the data really showing some kind of indication that these tariffs are absolutely having an effect now. And so a lot of people are saying that the September rate cut was already likely. It is now even more likely, John.
Zane Asher, thank you very much.
Of course.
Kate?
Thank you so much. Joining us right now for more on this from the White House is Stephen Myron, the chair of the President's Council of Economic Advisors. Stephen, thank you so much for being here. What's your reaction to this jobs report?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Look, this jobs report isn't ideal. There's no way around that. But nevertheless, I think that the downward revisions reflect a couple of anomalous factors. First of all, about 60% of the downward revision is due to quirks of the seasonal adjustment process. Then on top of that, there's the fact that the president created about in the household survey since the president took office, he created about 2.5 million jobs for Americans, whereas we've eliminated about 1 million jobs for foreign-born workers. That's a result of our strong immigration policy of our.
Oh, that's what they're doing. Oh my God. This is the meta. Okay. The meta is, no, you don't understand. We're getting jobs for the Americans. Okay. We're kicking, the layoffs are just the Mexicans. Okay. You don't understand. Oh, hell yeah. Bro, this is great. Remember when they tried to pull this spin? Not that they needed to do this spin at all, because we're not going to see the Medicaid cuts until after the midterms. But they were like, no, you don't understand. We said we weren't going to cut Medicaid, and now we're cutting Medicaid by almost a fucking trillion, okay? But that actually is for the Mexicans. We're cutting off Medicaid for the Mexicans. Your Medicaid is fine. They just literally slammed that talking point on everything. No matter what, whichever way this goes, they're like, no, you don't understand. The job layoffs are Mexican layoffs, Mexican style layoffs. Americans are getting good jobs. I don't know how long you can lie like this, for the record. I don't know, because at a certain point, people are going to be like, this is not happening. I thought it was just the Mexicans, but I don't think it's just the Mexicans. I think I lost my job, So, yeah, J.D. Vance. I was told 6 months ago that America's losing jobs and the foreign-born gaining jobs was an irreversible demographic fact. Turns out you just needed a new president and a new immigration policy. Holy shit. I thought this was a typo. In the last 4 months, native-born Americans have gained 1.8 million jobs. Meanwhile, 1.5 million foreign-born workers, legal and illegal, lost a job. A sharp reversal of the last few years. Hell yeah. I specifically note legal plus illegal immigrants because the government does not separate the two groups in their data on foreign-born workers. However, based on numbers, a large percentage are certainly illegal immigrants. Yeah, no, this is certainly, no, this is happening. This is for sure. Also, once again, having to remind myself that Americans would quite literally rather be unemployed than work any sort of agricultural job. Yeah, no, you don't understand. They're lining up, dude. You don't understand. They are working the crops left and right. He's going to send me a quote for something that is broken, like the fuse box or something. Okay. 0 white people lost their jobs. I swear to God, bro. Come on, bro. No, you don't understand, bro. You don't understand, King. You don't get it. Okay? White people are getting the jobs. They're getting good paying jobs right now. I promise. Not your cousin. Not you. You're white. You just didn't get it. But there's, I'm sure, white people out there that are getting the good jobs. I promise.
Strong border policy, keeping America safe, and eventually the outflow of foreign workers in this data.
Yeah. 85,000 Mexicans fired from the government, from the public sector. The public sector was just using the 85,000 Guatemalans that they fired, and pushed for an early retirement. That's what happened. This makes sense. I believe this.
We're bound to show up in the establishment survey, as they finally did this morning, too. Finally, we've been hearing a lot about uncertainty over the last few months, but that's all resolved now. We're creating trade deals left and right that have unlocked enormous new potential for the American economy. The tariff uncertainty is fading away. Tariff rates are settling in. The one big beautiful bill is now law. There's no more uncertainty over the tax bill either, over potentially the biggest tax hike in American history. And on top of that, there are such strong, powerful incentives in the one big beautiful bill for investment. Things like full expensing on investment in equipment and R&D, on new factory structures. These are huge. So it's all going to get much, much better from here.
But on those major downward revisions for June and May, I mean, June was initially said to be 147,000 jobs added, now revised to be just 14,000 jobs added. That amounts to the weakest month of job growth since December of 2020. And you attribute that to what, if it is not in part because of the uncertainty created in part by the president's trade war?
Oh, I attribute it to the combination of the three things that I described before. About 40% of that is due to seasonal adjustment quirks around teachers. Some of it is due to declining foreign-born employment, even as we created more American-born employment, and that is going to net out in a way that you see ultimately reflected in the data like that. And then finally, there's the uncertainty, right? Don't forget, we were in the midst of restructuring the global trading system in a way that hasn't been done in decades. The president is standing up for American workers and American firms for the first time in decades, and of course that was going to induce some uncertainty. It induced some volatility in financial markets, and we can see it induces some volatility in economic data too. But that uncertainty is resolved. The tariff rates are set. The one big beautiful bill is law. It's going to get better from here.
Congressman Stephen Lynch, a Democrat from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Congressman, thanks so much for being with us. Major downward revisions for May and June, making them the worst months since the pandemic. A miss on the jobs report just out. I want you to listen how the chair of the Council of Economic Advisors at the White House, Steve Myron, just described it to our Kate Baldwin.
You know, this jobs report isn't ideal. There's no way around that. But nevertheless, I think that the downward revisions reflect a couple of anomalous factors.
Not ideal. How would you describe it?
Well, we're seeing in our area, we've got 30% unemployment among the ironworkers union. A lot of those building trades are being affected by the 50% tariffs against Canadian steel, where we get most of our fabricated steel from, aluminum as well. So in the building trades, we're seeing, they're probably the tip of the iceberg, but they're the first, I think, to be impacted. And I think that the impact will continue to grow from there. It's not an anomaly. This is the beginning of a bad sequence.
Bro, everybody said this was going to happen. Who is this supposed to be a surprise to? Like, literally everyone said that this was the inevitable outcome of the inconsistent messaging coming from the administration about, like, molesting the money over and over again. Not that it matters, because obviously the wealthiest people don't actually suffer here, because they can just like move their assets around in the market because their wealth is directly tied to stock performance. Ironically enough, those are the motherfuckers that don't have a real job, the ones that do not rely on wage labor. Yeah, the financial economy is immersed in the kind of wild gambling we saw leading up to the 2008 financial crisis. Honestly, even the wild gambling leading up to the 2008 financial crisis took years to implement through steady deregulation. This is just like, this is a level above that. I think this is just straightforwardly using the entire American economy and the stock market as a get rich quick scheme for the richest people. Just turning it on and off so that his homies can like buy and sell quickly. I don't get it. Bro, don't take this as a complaint. I'm not as mass sensitive audio perv, but did you change your mic volume? You're hella quiet. But YouTube is loud as fuck, dealing with it, whatever, to be honest, but just wondering. No. Wait, let me see. Maybe. Hold on. I think that's what's going on. I cranked it because I couldn't hear it. Hold on. Robert Reich says, we're seeing it all over again, this time with crypto, meme stocks, junk bonds, and investors pumping up shares of AI stocks without knowing what it is. Be warned.
For employment in the country.
Actually, 11,000 manufacturing jobs lost last month in those reports. You are deeply connected to the unions up in Massachusetts, South Boston, and elsewhere. What has the impact been of the president's tariffs to this point on manufacturing, and what do you think it will be now that he is announcing a new round of tariffs that he says will go into effect in a week?
So I've got about 6 major projects that have already gone through the environmental process, the community process, the zoning process. But those develop, and these are large-scale projects. These are all hundreds of thousands of square feet, lots of retail, residential units, some manufacturing. All those projects are stopped because of the uncertainty. How can you put a bid in, or how can a developer get financing when the cost of your products, whether it's steel or concrete or aggregate or lumber, which is also historically high right now, around 20% lumber from Canada. How can you give a bid to an owner when you don't know what your costs are going to be? Your margins can disappear like that. And so we're seeing the banks also very reluctant to offer financing on favorable terms because of the uncertainty.
Folks, let's go down to Washington, D.C.
Oof, it was loud.
Megan Casella, pretty big headline happening right now.
Absolutely, Brian. We're just hearing from President Trump via Truth Social that he is firing the Commissioner of Labor Statistics. He says effective immediately. This, of course, coming after the jobs report this morning showed lower than expected job growth for the previous month, as well as major downward revisions for the past two. So the president focusing on those revisions in particular in this Truth Social post, saying he's firing Dr. Erica McIntyre for the Commissioner of Labor Statistics because she was a Biden appointee. She was appointed to her job in January 2024. He says this is the same Bureau of Labor Statistics that overstated the jobs growth in March 2024 by approximately 818,000, and then again right before the 2024 presidential election. He says these were records. No one can be that wrong. We need accurate jobs numbers. Goes on to say, I have directed my team to fire this Biden political appointee immediately. She will be replaced with someone much more competent and qualified.
That's some China shit. Numbers are not looking good. Let's not publish the numbers anymore. That's so funny to think that that's China shit, especially when China is on the exact opposite trajectory, all things considered. Like, no, dude, I don't think that works anymore. No, it's happening in America. It's not happening in China. That's not China. I wish we had China shit going on here. Okay? What do you mean? I wish we had China shit going on. I wish we had a fucking command economy and central planning and a robust industrial manufacturing base and jobs and consistent building, rapid urbanization, a network of high-speed rail and public transit that's readily available and very affordable. No inflation crisis whatsoever. That's China shit. It's so funny because I think one of my biggest points of vindication beyond people finally coming to the conclusions I arrived at a long time ago on Israel has been China. More and more younger people that aren't as readily hopping on the America is good and all the enemies are bad the attitude are, because there's nothing to look forward to being in America. They're seeing all the cool stuff China's doing and they go, oh my God, maybe China's not so bad. They're not talking about the Chinese economy. I think they're referring to the tendency of the Chinese government to shut down publishing data when it's not very positive. For instance, the youth unemployment rate, sure. But once again, all things considered, they are doing much better than we are. And we're doing it here.
Important numbers like these must be fair and accurate. They can't be manipulated for political purposes. He says much more about McIntyre and about the revisions that we saw this morning, Brian. And towards the end of this very long post, he goes on to say, Jerome, quote, too late Powell should also be put out to pasture. So again, returning to those strong words for Jerome Powell here, Brian. But I want to emphasize a major move here.
Also, this is quite literally America shit from Trump 1 too. COVID testing. Numbers look terrible. We need to stop testing for COVID was literally the Trump 1 attitude on COVID, which is hilarious because they did not do that in China. They did the exact opposite in China. They were heavy-handed with their zero COVID policies for sure. And it created a tremendous resentment. People literally started rebelling against the state and then they stopped it. But that was again Trump 1 as well as Trump 2. He's just doing it for everything else now. It's great, man. It's awesome. Fantastic stuff. We are doing so good. I love
by the
it.
president. Those jobs numbers that come out every month, yes, they are subject to revisions. These are larger than normal revisions that we saw this morning. That's part of what you've seen the market reacting to.
Day in Trump's economy. Wake up, check the news. BLS, 10 billion new jobs created. Check my phone to see what today's tariff rates are. Norway up 20%. Cambodia down 5%. Go to my iPhone assembly line job where I make $7.25 an hour. Spend the next 4 hours putting chips inside of phones. Take 15-minute break. Check my shit fart piss coin holdings. Rugged. Watch the FOMC meeting. FOMC is just Trump. Trump goes on stage and announces he's raising rates from minus 10% to minus 5%. Also announces date of Jay Powell's public execution. Everyone to thunderous applause. Jerome Powell, really bad guy. We're killing him. We're killing him dead with a guillotine. AI manager scolds me for taking 60 minutes on my 15-minute break. It's only been 12 minutes. Call employee helpline to complain. It's also AI. Go home frustrated. Complain to my girlfriend about my job. She's also AI. Everything's computer. Everything's computer. Even girlfriend is computer. Manager's computer. Girlfriend is computer. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. Just wait. Just wait. Everything is great. If you don't think things are great, don't worry. We got Palantir. Your identity numbers are all over. We are tapping in directly to your personal messaging on social media to make sure that there is no discontent. When we find out there is discontent, don't worry. Computer will come for you. And to make sure you no longer say you don't like it. It's great. Yeah, the guys for all the you will eat the bugs, you will live in a pod, you will be happy fear mongering on the right. They've been awfully quiet about all this from Trump. Yeah, no, turns out all you needed to do to make them feel a little bit better was like, no, we're just making the Mexicans eat the bugs and live in the pods. That's all you need to do. You just need to say Mexican. And everybody goes, oh, okay. Oh, it's not happening to me? All right, got it. Cool. It is much harder to deify the president if every establishing shot of the White House subjects you to the goofiest fucking building on earth. Wait, what? This is what they're doing to the White House? I hope it looks exactly like this and we spend the next 200 years getting repeatedly dunked on with this gilded garage extension looking monstrosity. What is this? What the fuck is this? Oh my God, this is literally Erdogan. Oh my God, he is Erdogan. Oh my God, the Turkification is so complete. We keep talking about the Brandonization, but this is some Erdogan ass bullshit right here, bro. This is straightforwardly the most Erdogan thing he's done. Oh, everything is fucked. Oh, is there a cost of living crisis that I ran on fixing and then did not fix? Well, guess what, dude? We're building a fucking palace. Sick, man. We're building an ugly ass palace. The new Rose Garden is finished. Oh my God. Oh, dude. Oh, I mean, look, we kind of deserve it. Don't you think? Don't you think we kind of deserve it? A little bit, like just grotesque, tasteless people just destroying what remains of like American cultural output piece by piece. Like this is, God, I think it's lame to say, oh, this is idiocracy, but this literally is idiocracy. It's hard to say it's not. This is going to be like what? Sponsored by crypto.com and shit too, I assume, you know? Sponsored by Palantir and crypto.com. Sponsored by Trump coin. Is brought to you by Fart Coin. It's the greatest coin powered by farts. Okay. Blue Chew Ballroom makes you light up. He said he will name the donors. President Trump speaking to oh Jesus Christ, that was loud. President Trump speaking to reporters just now committed to releasing the names of the donors who helped pay for his $200 million White House ballroom, but he said he might ultimately cover the entire cost himself. With what money? Oh, I guess like there's no way he's gonna do that.
Are you gonna publicize the names of the donors? Are you gonna
Great camera work from this guy, by the way.
When I do, I'll release. How many donors do you think it's gonna take to get the 200 million? Maybe one, me.
The ballroom building pic is AI, but the real render isn't any better. It's not right on the side of the building, but yeah, they wanted to slap this massive brick right next to the White House. Very post-glorious revolution, noble slapping modern pleasure palaces on the sides of older two-door buildings coded. Hampton Court 2, but uglier. Honor banger on the White House. Stupid. It's an extension. Why are you complaining? We're making the White House even bigger. Oh, yeah, by the way, speaking of NPR, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting is shutting down following loss of federal funding. I don't know if they'll like completely gut. I don't know how this works for NPR and PBS. But yeah, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting announced today that it will begin an orderly wind down of its operations following the passage of a federal rescissions package and the release of the Senate Appropriations Committee's fiscal year 2026 Labor, Health, and Human Services, Education, and Related Agencies Labor Appropriations Bill, which excludes funding for the CBP for the first time in more than 5 decades. For nearly 60 years, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting has carried out its congressional mission to build and sustain a trusted public media system that informs, educates, and serves communities across the country. Through partnerships with local stations and producers, CBP has supported educational content. Well, why do you need this? Why do you even need local publicly funded broadcasters when you can just like have AI make up whatever is going on? You know what I mean? Don't worry. AI will just make shit up. It will just hallucinate an alternative vision that is reflective of Trump's goals and what Trump wants you to feel like is going on. You know, this is devastating. This is truly devastating. For the record, one might say, oh, well, Hassan, you're a fucking independent broadcaster. You're independently funded by us, the fans. So this doesn't matter. But I have long been an advocate for good media, good mainstream media, because I can't do my fucking job without there being real reporters. Okay? I need there to be real reporters. There is nothing to add media literacy to if there is no media to begin with. I guess the alternative to this is that like NPR will become and PBS will become more independent because it will be just like entirely funded by donors. It'll turn into like a Democracy Now! Style situation, potentially. I mean, that is the best possible outcome. But it is fucking nuts. That's the most hopeful outcome. But I don't know how that works with like the current ongoing cost of living crisis. You missed this part of the story? Oh, this is the inside of the ballroom? Thank God we have money in the bank for this stuff, though. You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, that's far better. That's important to do, I think.
All day, but when it comes to government statistics and the jobs numbers in particular, the independence of these agencies and the accuracy of the numbers has always been paramount. So accusing these agencies of politically manipulating the numbers is a major step here. A little bit of background on McIntyre. Yes, she was appointed to this position by President Biden in January 2024, but she's also a labor economist who served over 20 years in the federal government. She's held positions at the U.S. Census Bureau, the Executive Office of the President, and the Department of Treasury as well. So not someone who was just put in there at the end of Biden's term that was a stranger to government, more than 20 years in government. Brian, now the president saying he's firing her effective immediately.
We have a major escalation in President Trump's trade war. Last night, he announced new tariffs on dozens of countries around the world starting on August 7th at rates up to 50%. It's uncharted territory for the global economy, and economists say it could mean you'll pay more for all kinds of goods in the future. Nancy Cordes is at the White House with the latest. Nancy, good morning. What's going on?
Well, what's going on, Nate, is this is the day that the president has been promising for months, and here is the list he has just released. In many cases, these tariff rates are not quite as high as the ones that he first threatened to impose back in April, but they are still the most aggressive tariffs the U.S. has imposed by far since the 1930s. And U.S. companies will only have 7 days to prepare before the new rates take effect.
This is making our country very rich and respected again.
The president's new tariffs will soon apply to goods from all of America's largest trading partners. A 20% tax on Taiwan, 50% for Brazil, and 15% for Japan, one of 6 countries that cut deals in advance. In a new executive order, President Trump said he has to hike rates because America's global trade deficit poses, quote, an unusual and extraordinary threat to national security. Democrats called it chaos.
This is a deal, all right. It's a raw deal.
a raw deal for the American people.
Trump is even hiking his existing tariffs on some Canadian products from 25% to 35%.
They've been treating our farmers very badly. They've been treating our country very badly for years.
The new rates will likely bring in more money for the U.S. government, collected at ports of entry by U.S. Customs. But it could also make goods more expensive. Already, U.S. inflation is creeping up after Trump imposed 10% tariffs in May. Furniture, appliances, and computers all cost more.
We now have a 25% tariff on this product that we didn't have a week ago.
Barton O'Brien owns Baydog, a pet gear company based on Kent Island, Maryland, with a staff of 7. He makes his products in China, Vietnam, and India.
I told you, this was another lock early on. Even from before the election, I told you, when Trump comes in and he says he's going to put these tariffs in place, he is going to hurt the small business owners that voted for him. Okay? Because all of these, like America is propped up by these small business owners that have like a couple people that they've hired that rely almost entirely on drop shipping, basically, like getting their products from China and then selling it with a markup to Americans. The funniest version of this, of course, is the MAGA stores. But yeah, I said this to Bradley Martin months ago. Yep. Dude, that conversation is so crazy. Look back at that conversation that I had with Bradley Martin about every single thing that I said that was going to happen with Donald Trump. Every single thing has happened. Literally every single thing that I said was going to happen with Donald Trump has happened. Like 100%. And it's not even, I mean, just like every single thing that I said was going to happen with the election and all of the failures that I pointed out with Kamala Harris and her campaign also unfolded fairly quickly in real time. Great stuff.
And sells them in 2,000 stores here in the U.S.
The only way for us to survive as a business is to raise prices and probably cut expenses, which means firing people. So tariffs are going to hit small businesses first, and they're going to hit small businesses hardest, and they're going to put a lot of us out of business.
Now, the White House argues that the tariffs are going to incentivize companies like his to move production to the U.S. where there's no tariff. But O'Brien told us that that would cost so much more that he'd have to hike the price of, say, his best-selling harness from $30 now to $150. In other words, Vlad, no one would buy it.
All right, Nancy Cordes for us this morning at the White House. Thank you, Nancy. More on how these tariffs could impact you. We're joined by our senior business and technology correspondent, Jolene Kent, here in studio. Jolene, good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Good morning,
All
everybody.
right. Good morning. So we've talked a lot on this show about how these tariffs will mean higher prices. You just heard Nancy's tag there. We will be absorbing these costs.
Cutie really picked the worst time to start a business. This is kind of true, especially one that relies on like almost entirely Chinese-made goods, like with virtually no market substitute here in the United States of America. Because her entire business is like imported goods. But like, I don't think there's anything that she could purchase that has a market substitute anyway. Like, do we even make those little trinkets here in America? I don't think so. Like, what could she source? What could she source from the United States of America? I can make them. All right, dude. Yeah. She needs to make them. She needs to make the little trinkets homegrown and sourced with local labor. So instead of like little labubus and stuff, you're going to have bullets, different kinds of bullets made in an American factory. That's the only thing that's like size equivalent. Bullets and soybeans. La bullpup. La bullet.
The question I have is, what kinds of products are going to be hit the hardest?
Well, we're already seeing, if you think about what's coming from Canada, we import so much lumber from Canada. So we could see lumber prices go up, which could make housing more expensive. You think about that 50% import tax on Brazil, for example. Coffee could get more expensive. Clothing. We're already seeing furniture prices tick up, as well as computers and appliances as well.
How quickly will customers notice a difference in prices?
Okay, so it's all about the dates. So we know that the Canada new import taxes have already gone into effect. So that's happening now. That could hit companies.
Yeah, with coffee, there's like not really much you can do about that either. That's another one that's just like kind of region cucked. You know what I mean? Like, what do? You're just straightforwardly region cucked.
Consumers very soon. But then for all of the other countries that Nancy was talking about here, we know that they have until August 7th to get their orders in. And if their stuff arrives before October 5th, then they can avoid these new higher levies.
Okay.
But we know these businesses, they tell us it takes a long time to get stuff into the U.S.
That's
Making
true.
that October deadline, that's a tight turnaround.
There's so many deadlines to keep track of, but how is this impacting the markets for people who invest 401ks?
Yes, we're taking a look right now. Dow futures are down about 1%, same with S&P 500. And looking at the global markets, we saw Japan and Europe pulling back very slightly. But what this really means, small businesses are really the driver of our economy. They're already struggling to make payroll, to get their orders in, to afford this stuff that you and I want to be buying. And I've talked to a couple of business owners overnight, and they say this uncertainty has...
U.S. is not becoming a 100% small business economy. No, it's even worse than that. The only small business you can do is crypto pimp. Okay, that's it. Like t-shirt salesman, influencer, cryptocurrency peddler. That's it. That's it. That's the entire nation. An entire nation of multi-level marketing schemes, Ponzi schemes that get increasingly stupider as well. Nope, drop shippers are gone. We can't do drop shipping anymore. Trump effectively killed that. You can't even do drop shipping. Dropshipper looks like an honest job as opposed to like cryptocurrency hawk. Okay? You're become like, what do you mean? You got rug pull merchant versus dropshipper. Dropshipper literally looks like a real job in comparison. Oh, what do you do? Oh, I just like peddle shitcoin with the hopes that like the guy next to me, the guy after me is going to be stupid enough to buy it, thinking that he can fuck over the next person. Nothing, just nothing else.
Just heightened, and they're looking at the holiday season thinking, oh my gosh, what about what I'm going to be able to sell? Can I stay open?
So one of the things that I'm really curious about is how this fluctuation in tariff policy has affected consumer sentiment. We've already seen numbers in Las Vegas. People aren't going to Vegas in the way that they had in years past. That is a leading indicator of how people feel about the economy.
And the other side of that is Procter & Gamble, for example, the maker of Tide and Bounty, household products. They say these tariffs are going to force them to raise prices. That's coming from the CEO, one of the biggest companies. So if that's how Procter & Gamble is feeling, imagine what you might be paying at, your big box store when you what you're paying on Amazon.
Yeah. And those are staples, right? The laundry detergent and the paper towels.
I need those paper towels.
No, big time.
I got a lot of
big
kids.
time. So many paper towels. Jolene Kent, thank you so much.
So this just in, automaker Ford's profits have been entirely wiped out.
Is this media? Oh, Midas Touch. Yes. My goats. My fucking goats. Oh, hell yeah. Let me look at their numbers. They're cooking, dude. They're so good.
Donald Trump wrapped up a disaster.
Oh, Jesus. That's loud. They are so good. Oh, my God. 2 hours ago, 300,000. They're doing Asmongold numbers, bro. They're doing Asmongold numbers. Oh, man. This gives me a little bit of happiness. I know that they're libs. They'll never touch like Israel and stuff. You know what I mean? And they're obviously going to actively work to farm as many like boring, shitty Democrats, middle of the road Democrats as they possibly can. But at least like someone is fucking combating the major moves that the right is doing online. Don't you feel happy that Midas Touch is doing good? Look, I've been an early defender of Midas Touch. Wait. They did talk about Israel. World turns against Netanyahu over Gaza crimes. Didn't do that well though with the audience. Now did it? It's okay though. Even they're talking about Israel too now. Netanyahu's on the thumbnail right there. What do you mean? I've never heard of these. BTC is farming Trump too. Yeah, Brian Tyler Cohen is another guy that's been like actively farming Trump. 400K, 5-alarm fire, Bondi pulls bombshell stunt ahead of midterms. Trump caught with brutal Epstein question 22 hours ago, 700,000 views. This gives me a little bit of hope. I know Brian Tyler Cohen also is like, he is again noticeably absent from the conversation when it comes to Israel, which is really fucking annoying. But you take what you can get at that point, as long as they're not like standing in opposition. As long as they're not standing in opposition against those who speak out against Israel's crimes, it is what it is. He did say something on the Chris Cuomo show recently that really pissed me off. I saw where he was like What hope? These liberals hate Trump and you? No, that's not true. I don't think Midas Touch hates me at all. I don't even think Brian Tyler Cohen hates me, really. Yeah, I've been on. Some do. I don't know percentage. Yeah, I did a spot on Midas Touch at the DNC. Now, this isn't, you need to understand something. This doesn't mean that these guys are on board, okay? I'm just saying that, like, with the wave of psychopathic far-right commentary, Tim Miller definitely does not like you. I mean, Cam says he does, so I don't know. They don't hate you. They're just out of touch with the working class and disgust me in general. I think younger libs are much more open to you than older libs tend to be. I mean, yeah. They're lying to grift your audience. What? Yeah, here it is. You found
Bush-era liberalism. Midas Touch carries that energy with it, and I really respect it. Like, I mean, obviously there's disagreements that I have sometimes, but overall, I'm a big fan because they love smoking Republicans, and I love that energy.
Absolutely. So what are you doing here at the DNC? I feel like you're generally a little bit farther left than the average liberal. So are you here to represent?
Yeah, I'm here to scope out the scene, check it out. I have a pretty young audience that's like unfamiliar with the back end of like DNC and how this machine works in general. So I thought it would be cool to see that. I also am like very nerdy about news outlets in general and news media in general, political news. I watch it a whole lot. If you've ever watched my streams, like that's all I do is just watch all these different news outlets. So seeing them in action, seeing the sausage get made, it's just, you know, it's a fun, exciting experience for me.
Do you fan out when like Caitlin Collins walks past, or are you just like freaking out?
No. I fan out when I see Epoch Times.
Yeah?
That's like
C-SPAN, you're like, oh, that's C-SPAN.
No, it's not even that. It's more so like weird news channels like NTD, Epoch Times. I'm like, those are like weird channels that I watch on a regular basis, and they're here.
Absolutely. So
I don't care about like CNN or whatever.
So I'm 21 years old. I have a younger audience. Can you explain what is at stake this election? If Donald Trump wins, what is at stake for younger people? Because you and I might disagree on some stuff politically, but I think we can both band together to defeat Donald Trump.
I mean, if Donald Trump wins, it's probably going to look exactly like it did 2016 to 2020, if not worse this time around. I don't want Donald Trump to win. I don't know what he would do at this point. I feel like I legitimately don't know what Donald Trump might do at this point, because like 2016 he was like, Mexicans are rapists, they're coming over the border, they got drugs, and then he would at least say, and some are very fine people, I assume, right? Like that was the tail end of that. Now he's just like, Guatemalans are coming to do rape against white daughters. Like 12 million migrants, we are immediately deporting them. Like he's greatly amped up the dangerous rhetoric surrounding immigration in this country, surrounding immigrants in this country. There's 15 million of them on U.S. soil. They're everywhere, all around us. They're just like you and I am genuinely terrified of what like the Republicans will inevitably end up doing in terms of their handling of like the undocumented migrants that are living here.
It's like, how do you deport 11 million people without crashing the economy, having violence, or accidentally deporting American citizens? And something I'm worried about with Donald Trump is that if he gets a second term, he doesn't learn from his mistakes much, but I think he'd learn from appointing people like Mike Pence, and he would make sure he only has loyalists around him. People who would make sure, like J.D. Vance, for example, has said that he would not have certified the results in the same way that Mike Pence did, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he has more sycophants around him. But like, listen, the question that you ask is actually the right question, which is, how do you deport migrants? How do you deport 15 million people living on U.S. soil without an unimaginable amount of violence? You can't. It's concentration camps. It's Hitlerian policy. It's completely unacceptable. And not only that, but also, you just mentioned like American citizens being deported, right? That happened already. It happened with the Bracero program. It happened with Operation, I won't say the name of the operation, it's just the anti-Mexican slur, anti-Latino slur. And Donald Trump routinely brings up that policy. The mass deportation of Mexicans and, hey, what's good? And including American citizens of Mexican descent. 1.3 million of them were deported in this country. And Donald Trump talks about that every rally. He talks about that shit like it was awesome. And he keeps saying it, and he keeps saying he's going to do that. And it blows my mind that there aren't more news media professionals out there or more politicians out there being like, you want to deport 12 million people? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's insane. That is is literally like Holocaust level cruelty.
This has been Adam Mockler with Hassan Piker at the 2024 DNC. Where can people find you? You're probably bigger than us, so.
Twitch.tv/Hasanabi.
Awesome, nice. And just in case you want to link up more, I live in Chicago.
People, you are live at Midas and Adam Mockler on YouTube.
We are live at Midas Touch on YouTube, and Adam, thanks for reading that out. That's supposed to be covered. Here, take my card. Just see you. I live in Chicago, so we can link up.
Thank you.
See you.
Nice to meet you guys.
Is this pre or post most lethal military? No, pre. This was like, I think this is day one. You can literally watch me become more and more resentful and angry as by day 3, I was out. I was like, this is so bad. Every single day that passed, my hope and optimism went away. Did you know you had a crystal ball? Yeah. It's so funny because, like, I'm willing to fucking work with Democrats all the time. And all of my fucking biggest naysayers are constantly trying to present me as this, like, massive radical. And it's like, no, dude, just listen to what I am saying, please. Instead of listening to, just listen to the warnings that I am delivering. Instead of just fucking assuming that I have, like, some nefarious purpose in mind that's somehow going to be bad for everybody. Jesus fucking Christ. I remember the couple of months before the DNC, I feel like we all had a lot of hope and they do things in the right this time. No, my attitude shifted immediately after the DNC. Your main YouTube channel should take notes from MT, Brian Tyler Cohen, and Kyle Kalinske. Is performing bad lately. That AI bot channel, Hasanabi Archive, is taking all the views. It's a shame that it's thriving and it has more views than your main. I don't think you're right about that. We've been posting a lot more videos on the main channel, and the main YouTube channel has gotten more views, more monthly views overall than it ever has before. But you're right about the archive bot channels. They are a burden for sure. Anyway, let's get back to Midas Touch.
By tariffs. Ford just reported a net loss of $29 million last quarter, compared with $1.8 billion in net income just 1 year ago, after they were hit by more than $800 million from Trump's tariffs. This is despite the fact that Ford manufactures most of its vehicles in the United States, because the company relies on parts imported from outside of the country. Plus, they were also hit hard by the new Trump taxes on steel and aluminum. The company said that tariffs are expected to cut about $2 billion from its annual earnings. Executives say that they are pressing the Trump administration to lower taxes on parts and materials that they need to survive. We're going to keep on following all the news, so spread the word, follow along, and add the Midas Touch podcast for more.
President Trump demanding that major drug makers lower the prices. That
the archive channel is 500K views on your Jubilee reaction. Jesus Christ. That's crazy. Okay, maybe they are cooking me a little bit. Holy fuck. This is a bot channel, man. It's crazy that a fucking AI-edited AI bot channel. Oh my God, they've already... Hassan's incredible interview with NPR. This Kamala Harris book makes no sense. Check their lives. Clankers.
They charge Americans in the next 60 days. In a series of letters sent yesterday, the president told companies to offer the full portfolio of their drugs to Medicaid patients at the same prices paid abroad. This is what's known as most favored nation rule. Trump also told drug makers to guarantee that Medicare, Medicaid, and private insurance patients get the same lower overseas prices for all newly approved medicines, and he demanded companies create a direct-to-consumer option for certain drugs. The efforts are likely to be met, obviously, with fierce pushback from the pharma industry. Experts say it's also unclear whether the president has the authority to force drug makers to lower their prices without the help of Congress. We're going to talk more about this next hour with former FDA Commissioner Dr. Scott Gottlieb. And I don't know what the answer is, but we're importing price controls. I guess once the price controls were being levied in Europe is when, I guess, pharmaceutical makers should have taken a stand, probably back then. Once it happens over there, you can see why the president says, why should their citizens get these prices when ours are paying 10 times as much? But so fine, for the drugs that have already been developed, maybe we're able to keep those. But long term, you see about innovation for drugs over in Europe, there's been almost none. And that's why they want, and defense and research and development, people want Europe and overseas to step up to the plate, because it's really harmed innovation. Is that going to happen here on the future drugs? Why wouldn't it happen here? So this could be the unintended.
I haven't seen these guys get this sad and this scared since the Zohran Mamdani victory. That's so funny. I don't understand what's going on. Why is this happening? This is not supposed to happen. What about the innovation? Yeah, I don't mind President Trump demanding drug makers slash prices within 60 days. This actually goated.
Consequence of this could be that we don't have innovation anymore in this country, and price controls.
Like the one good thing, which I'm sure he will never follow up on, is still seen as like a major negative here.
Never work, and I don't see how do you look at this as anything other than price control?
No, but look, there's a.
This is price control. What is happening?
What I mean, and it's a populist argument, but we should.
But I'm with you. I worry.
We should have when it started happening over there, and it's been happening for years, where people get drugs for a tenth of the price. Why?
Right.
They didn't even develop them over there.
It's one thing with countries that are not as developed as us, but when we're talking about developed nations where they can and should be able to afford prices, that's
what should the drug companies have said to like the EU when they were,
I don't know,
passing laws to the price control?
Right.
I don't know, but now that horse has left the barn, the toothpaste has left the tube. Humpty Dumpty has already fallen off the wall. You've already made an omelet. You've already cracked the egg. Toothpaste? Did I say toothpaste?
You've already done it.
I did that one.
Genie's already out of the bottle. Did I do that one?
I don't know, but I think there's some earnings that are coming.
Yo, this is amazing. All right, let's hear what kind of questions he took here. I gotta pee again. Hold on.
When you look at before the election, the same kind of thing happened. But when you look at those numbers, or when you look at just before the election, and then after the election, they corrected it by 800,000 or 900,000 jobs. We have a great relationship. We have a great relationship with South Korea.
Are you ready? Are you open to negotiate with Brazil? The Brazilian president, we request a
He can talk to me anytime he wants.
So are you open to tariffs?
Yeah, he can talk to me anytime he wants.
What is on the
Well, we'll see what happens. But I love the people of Brazil.
What evidence do you have?
Why you saying the two I love the people of Brazil. Right now. Because the people running Brazil did the wrong thing.
What
7 years, from the time that you learned that people were being stolen from Mar-a-Lago, to the time that you... I don't understand your question.
What's going on recently? I'm seeing a lot of annoying institution defending liberals in your comments being annoying. I don't know what you're talking about. Where?
Oh, yeah. Well, we had to do that.
I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but the entire plan for this announcement is botched and screwed all fucking over it. He put out a bullshit attempt to fix his own undoing of Medicaid, botching of trade deals, and failed Canadian drug import plan. He's doing fuck all but Medicare for all and under any other name. No, I know. That's why I said, like, he's not going to follow through on it. He's going to fuck it up somehow. Do not make no mistake. Under no circumstances will Trump ever do anything right by regular Americans, okay? He'll find a way to fuck it up.
We just have to be careful. And a threat was made, and we didn't think it was appropriate, so I have to be very careful. So
Is this audio better?
say it? Oh, yeah. Well, we had to do that. We just have to be careful. And a threat was made, and we didn't think it was appropriate, so I have to be very careful. So I do that on the basis of safety for our people. A threat was made by a former president of Russia, and we're going to protect our people.
President finally be investigated for election fraud?
I hope so. I hope so. I don't know whether or not that'll happen, but I hope so. I think her numbers were wrong, just like I thought her numbers were wrong before the election. Days before the election, she came out with these beautiful numbers for Kamala, I guess Biden/Kamala, and she came out with these beautiful numbers trying to get somebody else elected. Then right after the election, I think on the 15th, November 15th.
So she pumped your numbers too. I don't understand. Like, she did the same thing that she did to Kamala.
She had an $800,000 or $900,000 massive reduction. Said she made a mistake. That woman's numbers are. Yeah, one of the governors, as you know, of the Federal Reserve has just announced she's resigning. I understand it was over the fact that she disagreed with somebody from her party. She disagreed with Too Late. You know who Too Late is? Yeah. She disagreed with Too Late on the interest rate. So we'll see what happens. But we just found out that I have a open spot on the Federal Reserve Board I'm very happy about that, John. Well, you just have to read what he said. He was talking about nuclear. When you talk about nuclear, we have to be prepared, and we're totally prepared.
On the monthly jobs report, going forward, why should anyone trust the numbers?
Well, that's
and
the
if
big
you're
thing. You're right. No, you're right. Why should anybody trust numbers? You go back to election day. Look what happened 2 or 3 days before with massive, wonderful job numbers, trying to get him elected or her elected, trying to get whoever the hell was running. Because you go back and they came out with numbers that were very favorable to Kamala, okay? To trying to get him elected, trying to get her elected. And then on the 15th of November or thereabouts, they had an 800,000 or 900,000 overstatement reduction right after the election. It didn't work because you know who won, John? I won.
with these numbers,
The numbers for a long time. But today's, we're doing so well. I believe the numbers were phony, just like they were before the election. And there were other times. So you know what I did? I fired her.
Right.
And you know what? I did the right thing.
and presenting data or information you don't like, should they fear for their job?
I've always had a problem with these numbers. You know, I was thinking about it this morning. Before the numbers that came out, I said, who is the person that does these numbers? And then they gave me stats about before the election. I had a similar problem. I mean, she gave out numbers that were so good for the Democrats. It was like unbelievable. And then right after the election, she corrected those numbers with, I think, almost 900,000 corrections. I think nobody had ever seen anything like it. Well, today she did the same thing with the 253,000, whatever the number was. No, we need people that we can trust. I mean, your question is a very good one. We need people we can trust. I've got about three very good, I have a lot of good candidates. I will say everybody wants it. I've had more phone calls, but I have three people that are good. I could do a long-term thing or I could do a temporary. It's a 14-year term.
Right. Would you put someone in who actually has labor statistics experience?
I'd put somebody in who's going to be honest. That's all we want. I have a choice. I can have 4 months. I can do a short term, or I can do a 14-year deal. So we'll see. We have a lot of people. We've got a lot of good people around.
It was higher than other European.
Well, the problem with Switzerland, we have a $40 billion deficit with Switzerland. And I spoke yesterday to Switzerland, but we have a $40 billion deficit with Switzerland. That's a big deficit.
Question on the construction. Can I ask you a question on the construction? You say you're raising $200 million. You're donating a bunch. Others are as well. Are you blocking foreigners from donating money to build that addition?
Honestly, I never even thought of it, but it doesn't matter. I'm putting up my money, but it doesn't even matter. They've wanted a ballroom at the White House, and it's been very popular. You know, when we put it out yesterday. No, I'm not looking for that. You know, you have very strong restrictions as to who can donate, and we go by the restrictions. It's not a lot of. I mean, it's not that much money. It's money. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, we've seen some of this already. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for. Kamala Harris's comeback, okay? The comeback queen herself, Kamala Harris. She has a book. You thought Kamala Harris wasn't doing anything, okay? As big enjoyers of Kamala Harris, we all were confused as to why she wasn't saying anything about how Trump was fucking up the economy, how Trump was fucking up the planet, how Trump was further accelerating the demise of Gaza, you know, all things that she would do differently. Okay? So many of you, understandably, were shocked because you expected a lot more. This guy's saying slurs when you go AFK. What? I mean, I think this is a crazy person, but they're not saying slurs. What are you talking about? Do you think Alhamdulillah is a slur? Or Inshallah?
I didn't even start yet, by the way. But when I do, I'll release it. Maybe one, me.
Oh, yeah. We thought that Kamala Harris was dead. Turns out she's alive. What was she doing this entire time? One might ask. What was Kamala Harris doing this entire time? Okay? Really, what was she doing? Well, it turns out she was writing a book. Okay? She was writing a book, an important book. An important book that's going to fix everything. Let me see if I can find that TikTok that she made as well. The Kamala Brigade is alive and well. She was powering up. She was writing a manual on how she lost and how you can too. And let's see if my prediction that I made yesterday came true here. Probably not, because I haven't heard from a lot of liberals. I have not heard from a lot of liberals about how excited they are about this interview. So, wait, pregame with this.
What concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president. But I think she's not qualified to be president. Let's start there. Number one.
Are you kidding me? Killing it. I miss him.
Ladies and gentlemen,
He's great, man. I'm glad that she was doing self-care after she literally spiked the football and handed over the electoral victory to the Trump administration. You know, sorry, the genocide of Palestinian children had to continue. Nothing we can do about it. But hey, I've been doing all right.
Is one of my favorites.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one question on everyone's mind right now.
Yeah.
How's Doug?
God, this is so funny. Bro, what a fall from grace, man. This is already brain-breaking content, because it's like a person with so much power and so much influence that just like dropped the ball in spectacular fashion, did not fight nearly as hard enough to like make sure that Trump didn't win. But also on top of that, for the worst reasons too, for the continuation of the genocide and refusal to do right by the American working class. But then on the other side, you have this like former comedian who is so hyper libbed up. It's just brutal to watch. It's such a shameful experience. TikTok libs are saying, she's hurt, y'all, let her heal. Because they just like weirdly treat politicians as though they're like human beings. I don't. Not even with someone like Zoran, who I have a lot of closeness to, both literally, personally have linked up with him and all that, but also his worldview. I don't see him as anything but like a mere vessel for change. I don't see politicians as anything but people who work for us, who have the capacity to make necessary changes that will improve people's lives. I don't care if they feel sad. I don't care if they feel angry. I don't care if they feel hurt. I don't know why other people don't see it in the same way. It makes me mad. Even on the other side, even on the opposing side, when people just like get mad at AOC beyond what is like appropriate, get mad at AOC and be like, how could you betray us? How could you betray the working class revolution? It's like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, that's your fault for thinking that she was going to be a person that brings about like a workers' revolution or something, you know? Like, what are you saying? Like, what is this like celebrity culture attitude that people have? You play games with AOC? Exactly. I say this as someone who literally talks to AOC directly. Same with Zoran. The attitude will forever be, put the policy in the bag, little bro. You work for us. Okay? Put the policy in the bag. I don't care. And it's strange that people have created this like celebrity culture around these politicians. And it's like, it's even stranger when liberals do it, because they like correctly point out how silly it is when Republicans do it for Donald Trump. But there's a reason why they're called public servants, you know? They serve us. This is so bad. It's like a total reversal of Bernie. Anytime Bernie has a camera on him, he is so issue focused. Constantly talking about the pain Americans are experiencing, the struggles Americans are experiencing, and what tangible policy solutions are to those issues. This is all vague generalizations, just like pointing the finger at like the dream of an America or something. Some kind of American mythology that she's pointing to. It's just all fluff. This doesn't work. It's just all nonsensical platitudes, vague generalizations. Like, this is... It's crazy because I kept saying More funds to Israel, please. Can we get Liz Cheney on board, please? That's what she kept asking the community leaders. And the community leaders kept saying, we want you to keep talking about how your mother was a small business and $50,000 in tax credits for small businesses, please. This is what we want. And of course, the rest of the money going to Israel, obviously, otherwise it's anti-Semitic. We would like to have the most lethal military force we've ever seen.
To say what was incredibly beautiful.
So easy to forget now because the national mood is so grim in many ways, and people are so shocked by the abuses and the.
Dude, will Stephen Colbert ask Kamala Harris why everybody fucking hates the Democratic Party, even though they're experiencing an unprecedented amount of pain from the Republican Party? Will Stephen Colbert ask what could have been done differently? What were some of the biggest weaknesses of the campaign by her estimation outside of, I don't know, the 107 days that she keeps repeating? I mean, she literally named the book after an excuse.
Corruption and the violence against neighbors here happening in the United States by our government, and the free rein being given by Congress and the Supreme Court to this president. That just less than a year ago, things were very joyful. There was actually a lot of hope associated with your campaign, and there was a lot of promise that we might actually not only keep this absolute barbarian out of the White House, but also we might actually make progress as a country with the type of people that we wanted to see in office and a younger, more vital, revived political consciousness in America. What do you think of when you look back at that time and that feeling?
What I look back at is, as I said, how people realized the commonality and the collective strength and our collective love of our country. We love our country. And the thing about that experience is exactly what propels me to think about this moment and the future and not look back too much, which is those same people, they're still here. They still know joy in their hearts. They still know how to have a sense of optimism and faith in the future and to believe and to fight for that. And that hasn't gone away. And I just think it's really important that we never let a circumstance, situation, or person defeat our spirit. You can't let that happen. You can't give up your belief in what can be and what can be better. And in spite of, I talked about it the day after the election.
Am I crazy, or is she just not saying shit right now? Like, at all? I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to interpret her words a little bit, but she's giving me nothing, bro. What the hell is this?
And again, I talk about it in the book. That was a rough bleeping day for me. And it was important to me in my speech that I gave that day, the next day after the election, to remind people to not give up. I am so aware of the joy that was there and the hope and the enthusiasm. And I just think that we have to remember it was not just a candidate that gave that. It came from the people who naturally have that, and this election cannot take that away. But let's be clear-eyed about it, right? And let's be clear-eyed about what's going on. And that's why, people are taken to the streets, and people are organizing, and people are talking with each other, and they're talking about the issues, and they're articulating what we know is wrong and what it should be. And so
I'm begging. Talk about one of the issues, please. Just one. Like, what is this? Oh, well, it's got people talking about the issues. Okay, what are the issues that people are talking about? Name something that's going wrong in the country. Because the only thing that they've talked about so far is that, Trump is bad, but without even, describing what he's doing that's bad and horrifying. And how Trump makes us feel.
let's just not be defeated, right? Let's not be defeated.
Yep. The book.
Like this, even this would be silly the day after, but it's not the day after the election. Okay, we're 7 months into Trump. You know what I mean? We're 7 months into Trump. You have to have some issues with what's going on, right? Let's not be defeated.
Also, roll those 100 calls in just a couple of. So, President Biden says he's stepping.
Bro, this is crazy. Okay.
Out of the campaign in mid-afternoon, something like that.
Yeah.
And half an hour later, he says he's endorsing you to
Correct.
take over. You roll up those cars. A couple of days later, it's kind of all over but the shouting. Everybody can see that people are coalescing behind you. You have 107 days.
Right.
What would you do differently, looking back on it?
Because
you were in a tough spot.
Yeah, there are things I would do differently. And again,
read the book. Read the book. We all.
But
we're all going to read the book.
But I will
do you
say
do the audiobook, by the way?
I'm going to do an audiobook too.
Okay, great.
Yes, I will, and I'll read it. I'll record it. But I mean, the one thing I just have to say, and I've mentored a lot of people have done that over my career. None of us achieves any success. It's certainly for me, without having an incredible team. And one of the points that I hope I make often enough is I was going through that 107 days. This is a personal and candid perspective from me about what that experience was. Mm-hmm. But I had a team, many of people who have been with me for years, who really were so invested, and as I say there, I mean, left it all on the field, and I don't regret a day of that.
You had a great team, but you also had a friend, a mentor, someone you respected greatly in the office of the president, who had just stepped away. What was that like when you saw Joe?
He can't hear you. He's dead. He's already dead. You don't have to you do not have to glaze him. It also doesn't make sense because, like, this, at least now is your opportunity to shit on him, to be like, he's the reason why I lost. There's more truth to that than anything else she could ever say here. Like, if she came out and was like, I lost because of Joe Biden, that was the anchor around our neck, that would literally be closer to the truth than anything else. I don't understand. Oh my God, these people are so fucking annoying. Jesus Christ. What kind of grip does this man have over these people? I don't get it.
Is to remember that we had a president of the United States who believed in the rule of law.
Talking about how he would have won the election and Kamala fucked it up. Like, I don't know what this is for. Yeah, you know who was piling on Joe? The voters. I hope people understand why Democrats keep losing and why they have such low approval ratings right now, when they're supposed to be the alternative to the horrifying reality of Trump. Because this is the alternative. This is the leader of the alternative, the former leader of the alternative. I don't care if liberals are eating this up and being like, oh, like every 70-year-old is saying like, oh, if only we have someone with grace running the country again. It clearly does not do well when it comes to the actual election, okay? It doesn't.
You know, this is a time for people.
Name names. She's not wrong, but just say something. There's literally nothing here that's workable, by the way. It's literally 25 minutes so far of go ahead, girl, give us nothing. Ironically enough, the reason why she lost is because of her capitulation to Trump and Trumpian politics and Trump's literal policies. That's it. That's what happened. It's crazy.
Damn, this guy's good.